thing when it's like that.
Do we have an intro?
What kind? What do you mean?
Like playing like the Avengers or something? That'd be pretty badass.
Dun, 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 dun. Is that good for you? You good?
I can get it on my phone.
Yeah, fuck it. Here we go. Yeah. Steve, welcome back, sir.
Thanks, man.
So last time you were here, you left us with some of your protein supplement stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause
how
you
was
said
it?
you did it was so I told you before when we first met at your gym that I would drink dog shit flavored protein if I had to.
Right, as most people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's the truth.
Well, but I found some that like I can stomach, and then like there's a particular brand that I bought just because it was the only brand that my wife could stomach as well. Mm-hmm. Dude, your shit's good.
Thank you.
Like it's just good. Like,
Can we clarify that I'm not paying you to say this?
You know, no, I was really thinking you are not. I mean, you're more than welcome to, because I will.
Not at all.
Because I would.
Nice.
No,
Well,
but it's
that means a lot.
it's really it's really good. I'm usually like a strawberry or vanilla guy because it's hard to like.
Yeah.
Typically, those are the best flavors out of the crappy flavor. All of them.
Even strawberry is disgusting, though, in my opinion.
I
But,
see,
our,
I like
but our strawberry is like...
See, like, who was it? There's two brands. Was it it's the ON is always. I mean,
Optimum
that's
Nutrition,
yeah,
right?
and that's obviously because it's one of the biggest ones. And then I think it's the brand that was sponsored by UFC.
Synthesis 6?
No.
Is it like MP or?
Yeah, MP.
Oh,
Muscle
oh,
Pharma.
yeah.
Their stuff was okay as far as flavor goes, but
Right.
dude, I had I'm not usually a huge chocolate guy.
Yeah.
I had the chocolate brownie. It was delicious. And I had a couple other ones. Phenomenal. So just want to say that. And
Thank you.
You are not paying me to say that.
No, not at all. Well, that's the thing, man, is like I try to tell people, I struck gold with the distributor that I have, and we have a great relationship. If whatever I need, he'll get it to me in 24 hours kind of thing. Guys, I'm probably going to butcher it, but I at least know he has one PhD. I'm pretty sure he's a double PhD, but he's got a PhD in like tongue sciences. So like he knows like the taste receptors on your tongue.
Didn't know that was even a thing.
No, right? Well, you can get a PhD in underwater basket weaving. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Can you actually do that?
I mean, I'm sure you can.
You don't know.
You'd be like the first one to write a dissertation on it. So,
That's true.
but I struck gold with him, and we have over 20 flavors, and there's not one flavor that doesn't taste good. Like, there's not one person that's like, dude, this doesn't taste bad.
Yeah, I had one that was like, oh, okay, that tastes like chocolate, this, that, whatever. But I'm a huge chocolate fan. But like, there's a couple. I think it was it the? Oh no, it was the jelly donut one.
I knew you were going to say
It was
that.
a little.
I
It's
knew
too
it.
sweet.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, that's the
too
thing.
little
Is
too
like,
sweet.
well, how much water did you mix, or did you mix it with milk, or?
No, I did it with water.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes you have to dilute it, and you know what, dude? That just means you don't have a sweet tooth. And that's
oh
fine.
yeah, for sure I don't. But I went into it knowing like,
Yeah.
I'm probably because even with an actual jelly donut, I get about halfway through it. I'm like,
Well, that's the thing. Is like
yeah.
I'm gonna push back on that and say that speaks to how well it tastes, because it legit tastes just like a jelly donut. Does it not?
Yeah,
right?
it did,
So that makes
yeah.
sense then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: you got any new flavors in the pipeline? I know you have a ton of flavors. So
Yeah,
you
so-
got any like bourbon flavored or anything? I'm just
Yeah.
playing.
Why am I so
I'm just playing.
Why am I so surprised that he asked?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at
As
all.
he's sipping out his bourbon, he's like,
Yeah.
"So I'm thinking."
Do you have any bourbon flavored proteins I can mix in with my bourbon?
Great idea.
You do a coffee protein
Well,
bourbon
they
mix?
have bourbon. They have bourbon coffee. You can get from like
yeah,
Aldi,
I
you
do
know what I'm saying?
usually
Yeah.
every morning.
Before he's clocked in for work.
Only when I'm
no,
working
not
from
really.
home. Only when I'm working from
Work from
home.
home,
Yeah,
great.
if I'm not driving.
Oh god, no. As for new flavors, yeah, we just released an apple pie for the holiday season, so that's really
festive.
good. And I'll tell you what, oh dude, I actually felt like I should not be drinking it. Like it was cinnamon coffee that I had from the grocery store, but then I put the apple pie in it. Oh my gosh, it tasted just like a cinnamon apple
Like
pie.
caffeinated dessert
Yeah, drinking it.
sounds delicious.
It was phenomenal.
With bourbon.
With just with a little bit of Weller's in there.
So so I know you started a subscription service with that as well too.
Yeah, sure
right?
did.
So is that for like, do you ship everywhere? Like,
Yep.
is it?
Yep.
So you could just anybody like, is it just continental US?
I have to be careful
or-
with what I say, but we're like the Amazon Prime of gyms. Sorry, Jeff Bezos, if you're going to take me down.
Yeah.
That'd be one way to go down, I guess. But no,
Quick
that's
and painless. Well, maybe not painless, but it might be quick if he's trying to take
just pay me off. He's got enough. He makes like $300 million an hour or something.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
No, but yeah, that's how I've kind of, at least that's how I wrote it down in like my business plan is like, everybody loves subscriptions now. Like if you go on Instagram and you go on Facebook and stuff, you see you scroll a little bit and you see like there's this thing, I'm subscribed to like Manly Man things. So like, guns and whiskey and stuff. And there's this thing called Bespoke Post. Have you seen that? The ad for them?
I think I have.
Yeah,
I was hoping
and
you
it's
say
like,
Battle Box because
no, Battle Box is another one.
I
yeah.
like that one. I have that one.
No,
But
yeah.
sorry.
So
have
you get things in the mail that are like, this month you get a knife and a trial of bourbon and all these
Yeah.
protein bars and guys are like, yeah, man, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so people are clearly eating up this subscription thing. They want to feel like they're a part of something. So people already feel like they're a part of something with the gym.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be like, okay, how can we make it like a little bit more exclusive? And I'm like, okay, how can we do like a free subscription service where people can get access to the supplements and then like later on the road if they want, because like Amazon has like the different tiers of stuff where you can get like free streaming music and this and that. So that's kind of like where we're going towards, where we're going to have more incentives later. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We don't want to drop it all at once, right? We
Right.
want people
No,
to
yeah. Well,
start
you
following,
gotta
which we do have a following now. Yeah.
You got bread coming.
Right, right.
Bread trail.
Yeah, exactly. So, so the subscription's free. You can sign up at any time. You can change your flavors at any time. You can cancel at any time. There's no cancellation fees or anything like that. But the way it works is Fred likes chocolate protein, right?
False.
When do I want it?
Okay. Sorry. No, I'm just,
You're good. So yeah, so you want your chocolate protein, you want it like I will know when you, as long as you're doing anywhere between 5 and 6 scoops a day, or 1 scoop a day for 5 to 6 days a week, I'll know right when you're about out, and then it'll show right up at your door.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it just
You don't have to.
you don't
There's
have to
no
run-
worry.
Yeah, you don't have to run out to the
I was
store.
like, you said 5 to 6 scoops a day. I was like, holy kidney failure.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, pissing rocks.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah,
so
don't do that at home.
yeah, right, exactly. So if you supplement with 1 scoop a day for about 5 to 6 days a week, with about 30 servings in the bag, I'll know right when you're about out, and then you're gonna be like, crap, I only got like 2 scoops left, and then you're like, now I got to go to the store. What if Steve doesn't have the stuff in
Ding
stock?
dong.
Ding dong,
Hey, you got a
boom.
package.
Yeah, and it's not me showing up at the door, but
Right. Maybe it could
maybe,
be.
maybe one of these
If you
days.
pay him enough, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But it's free, and then
Is that the platinum membership?
platinum membership. He'll show up in whatever you want.
Steve's the protein only fans.
Oh no, the protein police is here
Ah, crap.
with their boombox.
This is spiraling out of control. my supplement stock is crashing. Anyways, no.
That's a phenomenal idea.
No,
though.
it's great, and then you can change it at any time too. So like Christmas time's coming around, right? And we just released another flavor as well. Just like Tony asked, we're doing peppermint stick.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I bet that would be.
Oh, it's great in coffee.
I could see that.
Hot
like
chocolate.
in coffee. Yeah.
Yep. So if like in November you want your apple pie, then you're like, well, I want to try a new one. All you got to do is simply go on our website, fill out the change
Because
form.
you drank all your pumpkin, obviously, from October.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know how many people have asked me for pumpkin protein?
Oh, probably way more than I would ever want.
And
to.
I went into this battle like no one's gonna. No, I'm not doing it. Then I had like 5 or 6 customers ask me.
yeah.
Are they all wearing Ugg boots or
Yeah.
I can't confirm or deny that.
That's a
can a dude be a basic white bitch?
Oh yes.
Yeah, absolutely. As I sit here and drink a pumpkin ale.
Yeah, me too. That's why I was asking. I was like, we'll see what his
You
answer
too.
is.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my bourbon. Jeez.
Oh, I got that too. That's
Tie up,
fine.
tie up
Mix
your,
them together.
Tie your eggs up. Anyways.
Yeah. So I mean, but like even. So like I said, the battle box thing. Like, it's not even for me. It's not even necessarily being a part of something. It was like I thought like, this seems kind of weird, whatever, and I was like, I'll give it a try.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like you get it, and you're like, it's weird. It's almost like that. It fulfills that little like shopping need or something.
Yeah,
When you get a
yeah.
package, you're like, oh, it's like a little present I didn't
Yeah,
expect. And then you
exactly.
open it up,
Yep.
it's like, oh, that's cool.
It's like drunk ordering something on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, except without the regret. When you get it, it makes you happier instead of going, Amazon, I didn't order anything.
What did I order?
Oh, yeah, that wasn't
Why did I order an extra small hoodie?
I was like, wear his pants? Yeah, so I think that's a really good idea.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're I mean, as much research as I've done, we are the only gym in the nation that not only has 20 plus flavors of protein, but also a gym that has a private label that has a subscription service. It's like a triple whammy. Like, how could you not?
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I own the company. I'm just saying I would do that if I was a traditional member at the gym.
Well, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Right.
it was funny. I had the conversation with my wife. It might have been today, where we were talking about, when you're going into an endeavor, and people are like, well, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like starting this podcast. I read a bunch of things. People are like, well, you have to focus on one thing. You have to do one thing. You have to focus because people they won't. Like, no, I don't want to do that. And then we talked about, you said Bezos. I watched the video of him when he started Amazon, and he was out. It was like some terrible, video. What was it? I don't know, 15, 20, whatever, how many years ago it was.
Right.
And he's talking about selling books.
Oh, yeah. That's how it
people
started.
And people are like, look at this dweeb.
Yeah.
Like selling books online. Like,
To college students, though.
Yeah,
People who needed it.
yeah, like, but
Yeah.
everybody looked at that and was like, this dork is insane.
Right.
And now he's one of the richest men in the entire world.
Well, Bill Gates. Bill Gates.
I mean?
They're like, oh, yeah, computers can talk to each other. You're out of your mind. And then look what happens.
Right.
That's
the thing. So my point is that, not every idea. I had a really good analogy at the time. I'll try to remember it.
Reel it back.
Yeah, I'll reel it back. So it was, you have to think outside of the box, because not every idea you have outside of the box is going to be successful. But every ridiculously successful idea
Right.
is out of the box.
Right.
Is outside of that box. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so just
So I'm gonna
doing something new that people aren't doing.
I'm gonna blow your mind, right?
I'm ready. It's gonna blow my mind.
Here it comes,
Tommy.
ready? Oh, you walked in at the right time. Ready? I don't think outside of the box. I operate outside the box, and then I build another one. You see what I'm saying? And then,
Multiverse.
yeah, exactly.
Building the layers.
Yeah, and then and then when that box gets boring, I think outside of that one, and then I'm like, yeah, that box is old news. I'll keep it around, but I'm gonna go build another one. And that's just that's really how I built my business too. I mean, we've had so many levels and tiers of progression and growth, where it's like I have this huge whiteboard in my house, and I look at it and I'm just like, seriously, almost every month, I'll grab a drink, or even if I'm just completely sober, I'll just grab a cup of coffee and I'll just look at that board and I'll be like, I'll just stare at it, at the whiteness for just 20 minutes. And I'll just be like, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, what's the solution? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm right there with you.
Even
man.
if you don't think there's even if there's nothing to be solved, I'm always thinking, what's the solution? You know what I mean? Because I started looking at like this, for instance, the supplements. You know what I mean? I'm like, when you have like a company like Walmart, they have, let's just say, Cheerios on their shelves, right? Well, they paid for all of those Cheerios to be there. The customer has to buy them first for them to make money on it.
Right.
Right. Same thing with my supplement company.
Or they get sent to Aldi.
Right. Exactly.
Where I buy them.
And then,
Much cheaper.
and then you get the off-brand, which is like Circle O's. Circle O's,
Crunchy O's.
great for your health. And that's how I was looking at my supplements. I'm like, I'm buying stock, but how am I going to guarantee myself that I'm actually going to grow my business if I don't? In an all-sell situation, that's when I'm making profit. You know what I mean? Because the product's sitting there on the shelf. Now I can afford that, and people like it because it's available. But this is what I started asking people when they came in the door. I said, let me ask you something right now. What if I was out of all my protein?
What would you do?
Yeah, they'd be like, well, I'd cave and I'd go to GNC. I was like, cool, GNC's closed. And they're like, oh my
I would
gosh.
never go to GNC. That shit's expensive.
I know, and that's the thing. and I actually just found out GNC was closed the other day. I didn't even realize the one in Worcester
I think that they closed. Yeah, I think it closed down for good.
Yeah, like right after COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah,
As he coughs.
yeah, sorry. There might have been a coup
For,
involved.
for a thermometer.
Yeah. Right. He was tested before he got here. Trust me.
Yeah, and then I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, and I asked people, I'm like, where are you getting your proteins from? And they're like, well, I just cave and I go to the nearest store. I go to Walmart or I go to Bueller's or whatever. And I'm like, you could be getting locally owned, 2 ingredient proud, protein that's really good for you. It has been, now the FDA doesn't stand by any supplements, but at least we actually have clinical trials that show, hey, the athletes at local colleges have used this. We've seen the results from them. NCBI is one of the largest investigative bodies for medical research. I'm like, we have that research that shows the benefits of whey isolate, of the pre-workout compounds that we have. So. And it's not just the proteins too. I want to clarify too. We do subscription service for our pre-workouts as well, which are our best sellers that we have.
And I know you said before, I think this may have been a side conversation, that you're working on additional supplements. You're considering additional supplements, but not honed down.
Just waiting for some research to come back. That's all I can really say at the moment. Just because I don't want to get people too excited, because I'm trying to keep up with fitness, health, and news, because I want to know what's working for people.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't. Not everything is going to work for everybody. You have to kind of cater to the lowest common denominator. Like, okay, what are we looking at from a general populace standpoint? Like, the big thing right now is BCAAs. The branched chain amino acids. Everybody's interested in BCAAs. People take them people take them intra, people take them post. It's like, okay, well, which one's best? Which branch chains are we looking at that are actually going to provide the most benefit? Right. So we're waiting. I'm waiting for some more research to come out, because there's a lot of good evidence that's showing that intra BCAAs.
I would agree with that.
I
have my own research just for myself confirms that
and
I like them pre to intra.
Yeah, and even when the research does come out, I haven't even done it yet, and I only sell the stuff that I know has worked for me, because that way I can put my guarantee behind it. Like for me, creatine, the worst headaches in the world, migraines. And creatine has come a long way. Creatine monohydrate, it's come a long, long way. But last time I took creatine, and that's a totally different conversation about what creatine does in the body and how it's indigenously produced and stuff. But I just had really bad experiences on it. And I'm like, and I tell my clients that, and they're like, well, I've been taking creatine for years. I'm like, it doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. I'm just telling you that I'm not going to sell it because I don't believe it. It's my company.
Right. And see, at the same time, like I've seen myself, I know exactly what's going to happen when I start taking creatine, and I know I see benefits from it. Yeah. But there are some side effects, particularly if you don't drink enough water, if you don't stay hydrated enough with it. And it's funny, we had Gary Chaney and Lisa Arnold here.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Both IFBB pros.
Very excited for that episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking about just different supplements. Everything works different for everybody, until you get to know that that person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my patients. They're like, oh, how long is this going to take to work? And I'm like, everyone's a little bit different. And I'm like, give it at least this amount of time. I said, but you could feel, some effects before. But
sure thing.
Yeah, the pharmacokinetics and dynamics. So just how the body affects the medication, and medication affects the body.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. And so people just go on and just sign up, and it just gets delivered to the door.
Yeah, you can head right to. Gotta keep coughing, man. That's COVID stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to brew something about tequila. That's what's gonna fix it.
Well, I heard that.
That's been my thing.
There's new studies.
The more alcohol in my blood.
The FDA is showing that
bleach.
The FDA is showing that Terramana tequila is actually the cure.
Right.
The cure for COVID.
Well, that's what when Trump was talking about injecting bleach, I figured, well, alcohol is the next best thing, so I'll just stay drunk.
Well, just there we go. There we go. It's perfectly fine.
I'm pretty sure it's not only you that thought that. It's the rest of the nation.
Ohio had the record sale of alcohol.
Oh, I believe that.
Between March and it was like in March and May or something. Ridiculous.
I believe that because I look at labs all day, and all my patients come back, and their AST and their ALT, all their liver enzymes are like, doo, 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 doo. I'm like,
what are you guys doing?
I'm like, you taking Tylenol, aspirin? What are you? I'm like, are you drinking more? And they just laugh. They just laugh.
I'm like, no, we're freaking bored.
I'm like, there's my
answer.
Kids all day long. Of course, I'm drinking more. What kind of question's that?
I'm freaking bored, and Xbox Live showed that I've been on for 24 hours straight. What do you think?
I've been taking pre-workout with my vodka. Been getting them.
Anyway, to answer your question, you can head right to primalfitnessworcester.com/shop. That's it's right there. The subscription instructions, all the legalities, which is literally none. It's free to sign up, free to cancel. That's basically it. If you're a member at the gym, we can just use your billing on file, so it makes it super easy for that. But anybody can sign up. Anybody we have customers from Maine to Washington. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
There we go. Well, there's our free advertisement for the
appreciate
podcast.
that.
There you go.
Man, thank you.
Getting
very
it out
much.
there.
Heck yeah.
Did you want to eat those now?
I don't know,
we
man.
Can take a break.
Let's take a break. Yeah,
I know we kind of like.
We just got right into it.
Funky. So all right, that's fine. We'll pause and
break.
This is a different Marco's pizza.
Different Marco's.
Oh man. Oh, that's phenomenal. Restraining order from Marco's.
It was the recruiting station, you dick.
Oh, dude, those were phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, sitting in my belly.
Nice.
Yep, down in my belly.
Yeah.
Some
Shout
scotch.
out to White Feather.
White Feather and Creston there.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, sir.
When I tell you guys I don't eat meat,
Yeah.
I'm eating 2 or 3 of them.
Devours
Smashing.
2 hours. Yeah. At least it was local sourced, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that,
I just don't. I don't know, man. I stopped eating. Did I tell you the non-meat eating
No.
story?
Yeah. What's
Okay.
what made you get to there?
Yeah. So, well, my ex-wife, which we have yet to recap that one, but she was a vegetarian for like 7 years, and when I went to the Secret Service Academy in Georgia, I drove from Ohio down to Georgia.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a long drive. It was like 12, 13 hours or so. So I left right away, and I had to report.
You're out in the middle of nowhere, too.
Yeah, it was in Brunswick, Georgia.
Well, I'm just saying getting there.
Oh yeah,
You go through a lot
yeah.
of nothing.
I mean,
feel
I've
like.
I've made that drive quite often. I used to volunteer in college down in Jupiter, Florida, for Habitat for Humanity. I never took a break in college. I never had like spring break, Christmas break. I always just volunteered. So I'd go down there and build homes.
Of course he did.
Not surprising after
Yeah.
hearing the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was a great time. But anyway, so I knew that drive really well. So when I got to Georgia, I checked in, but I missed dinner because they had a cafeteria. So I was like, man, I am ravenous because all I wanted to do was get there.
Yeah.
So I woke up the next morning. You can't really screw up breakfast. It was eggs, bacon, hash browns, and it's like very military style cafeteria, more like a school. You know,
Sure.
like you just go in, it's mass produced, and
You get your square pizza and you walk out.
exactly, dude, and powdered
pouch of
powdered
milk.
eggs, and yeah,
Your pouch of milk.
it's a half a pint. Thank you. So yeah, so when we got our briefings and everything the first day there, I went for lunch, and I get in line, and all I wanted to do was have a salad with some chicken on it. So, and they had chicken that you could just, like, it wasn't like served by anybody. They just put it in a freaking trough,
Yeah.
and then they're like, help yourself. So I pick up the piece of chicken.
Back in the days where germs weren't a worry.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, this is what made me not want to eat meat anymore. In Georgia, which is like the South, like where you think they know what they're doing with meats. That sounds really fucked up. So
Get there.
It wasn't Key West or San Francisco. So.
Yeah. Right.
But anyways, so I go there and I pick up the tongs, and I pick up a chicken breast, and I'm not even joking with you guys. It gooed, like it fell in between the tongs, and I was like, okay, maybe just a bad one. I go for another one, and I look at the guy next to me he was like in the ATF or something, and I look back at him, and he's like, nope, and he just went to the other line, and I was like.
Wow.
So I literally was sick to my stomach, and I don't like, dude. I was in survival school in the Air Force, man. I
Yeah.
freaking killed a rabbit in the wild and ate it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with that. My problem was that it was pink, nasty, and gooing through the tongs. It wasn't even chicken. It was absolutely disgusting. So I was like, all right, screw
I'm
it.
glad you told this story after we ate.
Yeah, no kidding. So
I'd still smash.
yeah, right. Well, you can trust White Feather. So,
Yeah.
but so I'm like, okay, give it to dinner. So we got through the rest of our briefings throughout the day, and it was all just introductions. So it's not like we were doing anything crazy. So it's not like you're burning a lot of calories. But I was still hungry because obviously I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. So dinner comes around. They had cordon bleu was like the main line. I'm like cordon. I'm like cordon bleu.
chicken
in
again?
I'm like cordon bleu in the Federal Academy. I'm like, not bad. This is actually a good gig until you cut open into it, and you're like, oh, that's not the cheese of the cordon bleu that's gooing out. That's the chicken.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So like, it was like eating COVID.
Dude, all the chickens have like cancer. or
I know,
something?
dude.
Or what the hell?
So
What the
wait,
deal?
so there's always a but wait, there's more with my stories. So I at that point I had texted my wife at the time. I'm like, there's no way. I have to eat just straight vegetables here. I don't trust anything here. What did she do? Told you. I'm like, oh well, there's the validation right there. I
Yeah.
guess I'm gonna be vegetarian because of you. But it was like,
I'd have been like, chicken it is.
yeah, well, but here's the thing. Like, it was Georgia, so I still went out and I went and got brisket, and I still went out
Sure.
on the weekends. So like
Yeah.
when we got off base, I still got like the slow cooked. You know what I mean? So like I loved that Southern style cooking. But I just, the person I am. I'm very social. I treat everybody as if they're a friend, right? So I started to get to know the staff from the cafeteria, which
Of course you did.
the government staff they hire people who don't necessarily have the best opportunities and stuff like that, or maybe people who are struggling in society, that kind of thing. They give them equal opportunity. So one guy, Ray, he was like, I'm like, Ray, he was like this short little black dude, really scrappy. He kind of reminded me of Kevin Hart, basically. He was basically Kevin Hart behind the line, always saying what up, like, what agency you with? ATF, that's cool, Secret
I
Service.
feel like that's probably what Kevin Hart would be doing had he not found comedy.
Exactly. What, he'd be serving food at the Federal Academy?
Maybe, you never know. Just because he enjoys it, I feel like.
Serving food?
I mean, just talking to people.
Oh, fair enough.
Just like, hey, what's up?
yeah, exactly.
Where'd you from? I haven't seen you before.
Yeah,
Where'd you come from?
Exactly. That's exactly how Ray was.
You got to be a people person.
Yeah. So, so I'm like 2 weeks in the academy, and I'm like, listen, bro, you just have to shoot me straight. What the f is going on with your meat? Not Ray's meat, but you know what I mean. I'm like, what is going on with the food here? I'm like, because the only thing I can trust eating is the iceberg lettuce and the broccoli. Like that's literally the only thing.
That's scary in itself.
Yeah. So he goes, I'm like, oh no. I'm like, don't you do that. Don't do that. I'm like, tell me what's going on. I'm like looking around. It's breakfast. I'm like, and I was there super early. I'm like, there ain't nobody around, dude. I'm like, just be honest with me. I'm like, because I need to know. He goes, well, you know it's across the street, right? I'm like, no. Well, up the street is a federal prison. He's like, well, sometimes like we get the food from the federal prison and then they recycle it here. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So we're eating the grade of food that you guys are serving to the prisoner. So like you're feeding,
not serving to the prisoners.
You're feeding, yeah. I'm like, you're feeding the agents that are arresting the criminals.
The stuff
like,
that the criminals won't eat.
Jokes on you. Jokes on you.
I was like,
wow.
Whoa. That was like mind blow situation. And I was like, thanks, Ray. That's all I need to know. But but from that point, then I'll be 100% honest with you guys though, for real. And I'm not like sponsored to say this or anything, but like after I stopped eating meat,
We're doing a lot of free sponsorships.
yeah,
today,
dude, this is great. It's like a sponsorship episode. No, I honestly, my inflammation
And we'll
went
still
down.
make- Yeah.
I felt a hell of a lot better. I felt more healthy. I was PRing like every day, every week in the gym. My sprints went up. Like, could have been placebo. I could have just been working very hard, but like, I felt I always had knee problems. Never squatting. I'm squatting in the gym now. I'm deadlifting. Never would have done that stuff beforehand because I had just had such bad inflammation, and now I just feel so much better.
I wonder what that is because it was funny. I was having the conversation the other day. I saw some kind of special about dairy products and like cheese and stuff. And how so many, like around the world, I don't remember exactly what the statistics were.
Sure, right.
But the vast majority of people in the world are, maybe not the vast majority, but the majority of people are lactose intolerant.
Correct. Well, because we're not meant to be milk dependent mammals. Like that's just not how we operate.
Right. Well, there was a lot of other things too where they kind of equated it or connected it to different like civilizations, different types of people around the world. Where a lot of people in areas, this is just super basic, but a lot of people in areas that don't have some kind of natural refrigeration. So you get as you get closer to the equator, more and more the people can't handle dairy products and like because you can never keep them cool.
Spoiling, yeah.
So it's like I wonder how much of an evolution piece of it is to where, white people just like cheese because they live in cold places, and they're able to keep stuff like that. Because I'll be honest, I eat meat and cheese. That's my deal. And the only thing better than meat and potatoes is meat and meat. I'm okay. I'm okay with
touch it.
I'm okay with the veggies, but
Don't go there.
But I feel like obviously, if I eat too much of something, like it's funny, like pork. If I eat too much pork, I'm like, I get like the meat sweats. But I could eat hamburgers and chicken all day long.
Yeah.
And still, I feel great.
Well, I know.
So I wonder, how much of that is just different people. And
well, I mean, I'll stand by my ex-wife. One time we went to an Air Force like tribute event thing in Ashland, and the only food they had there was hamburgers and hot dogs. America, right? So she's like, "Well, I want a hamburger." This is when I was still eating meat, And she ate it, and then we went home, and she freaking, it was just like a tiny little hamburger. She freaking vomited for like 2 hours.
But was it a real hamburger? Because if I go
That's the thing. But that's
if I go to like Burger King and eat a hamburger,
McBurger King, yeah.
Either way, instantly feel like
Yeah.
that, just instant regret.
But it's 100% beef.
100% chance of shit in your pants.
Yeah, it was
Guaranteed.
Yeah, it was 100%.
60% of the time, all the time.
It was 100% from a cow. If that's what they mean by beef, then I believe that. But it was
Yeah.
not 100%
Yeah.
decent cut of beef.
No kidding.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that was not Wagyu.
Well, I'll tell you, like I've had white feather with friends before,
Yeah.
and like that, and that's how I approach it. Like I'm not a picky eater, but I don't actively seek meat in my diet just
True.
because of that reason. But like I just told you when we were off mic, I'm like, I'm gonna eat this. Hell yeah. Like it tastes amazing, and I know where it's coming from, and it's locally sourced, just like how certified Angus is.
Right.
Like apparently, were you telling me about to be a certified Angus? It's like 4%.
And that was me.
And somebody was telling me that it's like to be actually certified Angus beef, like it's like 4% of all of the meat that's sold in the country. And if you,
a lady that worked there told me the exact same thing.
Oh,
It's
really?
difficult. Very
okay,
difficult.
yeah, and that's why one, it's so expensive, and two, why they legit have a lab and doctors that they pay thousands and thousands of dollars to make it certified Angus. So like when you see that seal, you know.
At least it has some kind of
Guidelines.
guidelines to it. Well, it was
Right.
funny. My wife works with a lady, and she's married to a farmer, and they're like, "Hey, we just sent a cow to slaughter. You guys want any ground beef?" Like, I was like, "Well, yeah. Like, how much can we get?" She's like, "Well, whatever." So I was like, I don't know, like 50 pounds. She's like, "You want 50 pounds of ground beef?" I'm like, "Well,
Jeez,
if we can get it,
it's
like,
a lot.
sure."
You go through it so fast.
Yeah, like especially because I know like
Well,
it's different
yeah.
than going to the store. Like
very true,
it's literally
yeah.
it's a farm down the road.
Right.
I know that like I've known them for years and years, so it's like at least I know where it's coming from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Well, I can tell you that. So I eat Beyond Beef, which is made out of pea protein, and it tastes phenomenal. That is my go-to protein source is Beyond Beef, and I eat about 5 pounds of that a week.
yeah, I mean there was a time
So
where
that makes sense.
when I was back in the day when I was real into it. I mean we would eat. It would be nothing to eat over 10 pounds of chicken a week,
Yeah.
and that's just chicken, not
Right.
pork or.
And I go
anything else.
and I go through about maybe 2 pounds of peanut butter a week. That's way off subject, but yeah.
Well, I was
drop
the
that in
same
there.
way. She'd be like, "Can you get me some peanut butter next time you go to the store?" I'm like, "I just got peanut butter." I go to Sam's,
Yeah.
so we get a lot of peanut butter.
Yeah. I
she'll
get that. I
she'll
get-
be in the middle of the night. I like walk out through the bathroom or something. She's like,
she's
"Send
got
up the peanut
yeah,
butter
with like a
jar."
spoonful.
Like, a banana, like a jar of peanut
That's
butter.
me too. Celery sticks. I'm like,
Dude, I eat so much peanut butter. Like one time, I was actually embarrassed with myself when I was making a shake, and like I usually do like almond milk, protein powder, whatever concoction, and then I get the peanut butter, and I'm like, I literally just dump it, and I go like with the
I just
spoon.
see like I got a half a jar of peanut butter left. I'll just put the protein stuff in there.
yeah, dude, yeah, just stir it up.
in the fridge.
Well, like when I go home and visit my parents, and I walk in the door, my mom goes, "Hey, Steven."
Right.
I was
That's
so hoping your mom was going to be back on the
Yeah.
show.
yeah. Mom has made a repeat. That's specifically why I did that.
Welcome back, Mom.
Hi, Aunt.
Oh,
So we need to get her on here.
yeah.
Oh, that'd be so. Oh, she would have a blast.
Well, it depends. We'll let her listen to the first episode first.
Nah,
We'll
she'll
see
be all
where it
right.
goes.
She can hold her own. Trust me. Trust me. Keg stand mom.
yeah, that's true.
She's got so many stories. She's going to write a book. I know she will, but dude, she's got so many stories. But anyways, when I go home, even just a few weeks ago, I went home and my dad's like, I'm 28. And I still open the refrigerator door. And my dad goes, "What are you doing?" I'm 28 years old, Dad. I grabbed the jar of Jif, which I don't like Jif, but I'm like, whatever. It's
What
what's
kind of peanut butter
available.
do you like then? If you
Smucker's Natural, man. That's
Oh,
all.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
okay
it.
then.
That's it.
I'm okay with that. I was gonna say because if you're like a Peter Pan guy, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I walk into the living room and I'll just stand there with this tablespoon and just start eating it out of the jar. My dad's like, "Ugh," so disgusted. He's like, "Ugh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just eating peanut butter." He's like, "Just." Ugh." Like his face is just like, "You're so uncivilized."
I can see that.
And he's always his favorite line is, "Why do you always fuck with me?" I'm like, "Dad, because it's." He's like, "It's not funny." I love my dad. I love my dad so much. It's great.
I feel like that's the new domesticated savage is just eating peanut butter.
Yes, dude. That
Yeah.
is it. That's exactly it. So.
Oh, jeez. I don't even know where to.
All right, man. Well, we left off on a cliffhanger. Let's pick it back up.
Well, I mean,
I'm
there's
sure
a
the
couple.
yeah. Well, I know.
Because I have one. I have my own personal.
Well, then
cliffhanger.
shoot, man. You're the one running the show. I'm just the guest, drinking your Lagunitas
That's his.
and Yingling.
Tony's.
And Terramana.
No, it's your Terramana.
Yeah. Well, I brought it for you guys, so it's everybody's.
So you said at one point you were homeless, and I feel like that's,
I don't think we talked about that on the podcast.
you mentioned it. You mentioned it very briefly on the podcast. It was literally like
Yeah.
in passing, and that's
Yeah.
exactly the same way it was before when you mentioned
Yeah.
it before. And every
Yeah.
single time, it's just this weird in passing thing where I feel
Yeah.
like being homeless is not a in passing thing.
Yeah, it's shitty. And I will have to say that there's different types of, I guess you could say, homeless, and I'll elaborate, because when you go home, you have a place you call home.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, you have a place where you can come in, you park your car, you open up the door, you lock it, you feel safe. Feeling safe is a big part of being home.
You're
Right.
absolutely feeling like it's yours.
Yeah,
It's your
and well,
little
yeah,
space.
not even just possessions though. Like just like feeling safe. So like you could be
Well, I mean, like
you
the
could call-
space is yours. You know what I mean?
correct.
Like-
Yeah, you could call the woods your home.
Right.
You could very well be homeless. You may not have like an address, but like there's people who live in Oregon who are like Bedouin, like dispersed campers that they're like off the grid and stuff like that. But they'll say they have a home because they feel safe in their little contraption that they've made.
Right. And if that's
You know
where
what I
you
mean?
want to be, and that's where you feel most comfortable at, and
Correct.
I
yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. So there's different levels of homeless. My situation was, and we'll just pick it up where the last episode left off was. And I'm sure this will probably jump back and forth, which is fine. I'm sure people can keep up.
There's no rules here. We've established that.
No rules, just right. Yeah, it's I found myself in a position when my wife said she wanted a divorce after, just to kind of give people backstory if you haven't listened to the first part.
If you haven't listened to the first part, just
You
stop
definitely
right
need
now.
to stop right now and
listen
just
to the
go
first part, 'cause
back.
That's the way
Yeah.
it makes sense. You don't
Yeah.
watch the Matrix Revolutions without watching the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Unless you're watching Star Wars and you start with the third episode, but we'll talk about that later.
I've never watched any of them, so
Oh my God, Jesus. Can we take a moment of silence?
I'm just wondering how long it's going to take before he starts talking about aliens.
That's all he's waiting
Don't
for.
do it. I've
Yeah.
been waiting for that since episode 1, and it still hasn't happened. Still waiting.
Just wait for that right person.
I have to get somebody. Yeah, we have to get somebody out here.
Just get somebody from NASA.
that
Anybody
thinks the
from
Earth
NASA.
is flat.
Yeah.
Or that thinks
Thanks.
there's aliens.
Thanks. So anyway, so
Don't
being
you fuck with me, Steve.
no, yeah. So
I don't think
when
the Earth is flat necessarily.
enough.
I don't know.
Okay, don't know yet. So yeah, when she told me she wanted a divorce, you guys got to understand like where I came from. I left all my dreams behind. I was working for the Secret Service, had a great job, great career, came home, sacrificed all of that, came back to a job which I knew I hit a ceiling at.
Right.
You know what I mean? Knew I wasn't going to really progress any farther in, which is really what you should be doing in life is obviously continue to progress.
Right.
And then that's when I found the business. That's when I found the gym. That's when I found personal training.
And said, screw it, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and I went all in. But when she came home from that trip in Germany, and it was the second day. Well, really, it was the first day. She wasn't even home for 12 hours. That's when my wife told me she wanted a divorce.
Right.
And immediately, just the way that my mind works is, sometimes I get in such a zone, and this is particularly why I love fitness so much. Is like, think about when you're going to PR, on a deadlift, on a squat, on I don't even give a shit if it's freaking curls. Like,
You got to be in a place.
you are in your place. Nothing else exists around you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, like people say that, like, oh, well, I tried talking to you when you were working out. I'm like, I didn't even see you. I don't see anybody.
That was your first mistake.
That was your first mistake. I don't see anybody, and people think I'm going psycho in the weight room. Not now, like we were working out together the other day, right? We'll talk and stuff like that's a totally different story. But I got my headphones in and I'm in my zone. Seriously, like I just don't see anybody. I don't hear anything. I've got either my music or I listen to some motivation or speeches or whatever, and I'm just in my zone. The moment she told me that, Didn't hear a word after what she said. Even if she was trying to explain why or whatever, and it's like, even I was just like, the only thing that was going through my head is I literally started building a plan. Because I was, and here's the backstory that she kind of knew about, but I didn't really elaborate on. When I bought the business, Craig had about, I don't know, maybe 100 members, but then people started dropping off because the business was failing. So really when I took over, there was like 60 members-ish. Well, when I took over, we had people joining and stuff like during my volunteer time, I call it, from like April-ish until about September. But what we didn't realize is that, or what I didn't realize, is towards the very end, this is like a week before Emily came home from that trip in Germany, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm looking at the bank statements. I'm like, none of this is adding up. The numbers aren't adding up for the people versus the money, the revenue that's coming in. So I and this is no offense against Craig, I don't even think he realized it either. We had people who were on the docket that we were giving to the lawyers to like look over to make sure that the bank says, hey, you're making enough money.
Yeah.
Well, there was like 30 or 40 people that had either canceled or their credit cards were declined.
Ooh.
And I'm not good at math. So if we do that math here really quick.
I mean, 30 to 40, you only had 60, that's half.
40 by 25. that's $1,000 I was short a month now because my projections looked really good. I'm like, wow, we're doing really well.
Right.
And then I just I lost $1,000 in a matter of 20 seconds after doing that math.
Right.
And I was like,
That's
holy
rent.
crap. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So literally when she said that, my mind started racing. I'm like, okay.
Contingencies.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Well, remember what I told you about the Naval Academy? I had no contingencies in place when I got kicked out, and I'm like, well, here we go. Where am I going to live? How am I going to support myself? How am I going to survive with this business? I've got mounds of debt because I took out a loan to support the business. I've got a dog that I love and I'm going to take care of. I've got all this stuff going on. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So the homeless thing, to kind of circle back around that, I had multiple people willing to help me. Well, one of the first things I did was I called my mom, of course, and told her what was going on. I called her mom, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. First of all, she just left for work. She's like, well, I got to leave. I'm like, great time to tell me that you want a divorce. Tell me you want a divorce, and then you just duck out and go to work. So it's like, I had no one to talk to. She wouldn't elaborate. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, at maximum, I'm bringing in $600 a month for myself.
Right.
Newsflash. Rent's $2,400 a month for the business, which isn't being made. And obviously after that $1,000 cut, on top of personal rent, on top of food, on top of dog food, on top of living, basic living expenses, let alone emergencies. You know what I mean? I already dumped my savings and my checking account into the business. It was a bad situation.
It doesn't sound good.
No.
That's for sure.
Farthest thing from good.
Yeah.
So what does mom say? Of course. She goes, you need to come live with mom and dad. And I'm like, but they live in Cleveland. And I had 2 clients at the time. One client was at like 4:30 in the morning. The other client was at 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm not going to spend 4 hours in the car, 1 hour there, 1 hour back, 1 hour there, 1 hour back.
Right.
Waste more money in gas. Waste more, it was all about money at that point. And that's what's sad is like, you know what I mean? Like
when you got to eat though.
The dream came down to money. Yeah, when you have to eat, but it's like, I'd just be eating out of that Jif jar, with my dad judging me in the corner the whole fucking time. Jesus, Dad, give me a break.
I don't want to be broke eating out of a Jif jar and my parents.
Now some people would say that's part of the process, but here's what I'll tell you. Here's what's part of the process. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make it work. I'm going to grind, right? Well, here's what I did. I called around everywhere. Apartments, people who had places for rent. Nobody wanted not only a German Shepherd, but a dog that was over 50 pounds. They just said, no way. And Naughton is 80 pounds of crazy, and he's he is the best dog in the world. Like, he
really is.
Like, seriously. Like,
there's not a whole lot of dogs that are more well-behaved than most dogs. Yeah, I'm not going to even say that. Most dogs, yeah.
And I already told you, we start talking about this dog, I'm going to fucking ball up on this podcast because
that's why I didn't go to what I was going to say.
Dude, and he, like, seriously, he is the best dog, best companion in the world. And I'm like, I talked to my parents and I talked to people and I'm not religious, but, I was talking to a pastor at the time And he's like, well, we're going to have to balance priorities, and you very well may have to get rid of the dog. And that's when I stopped talking to that pastor. I don't talk to him anymore. Literally, I just stopped talking to him.
I don't want nothing to do with your God.
Yeah.
Getting rid of my dog. Get out of here.
You and your God that doesn't believe in dogs. So I went back and forth and back and forth. I didn't know what to do. The only place that would take dogs was a apartment complex in Worcester, $1,200 a month. And I was like, I'm bringing in $600 for me, not even living expenses and everything. So, very long story short, you know, my mom was like, you need to just start living in the gym. And that to me hit so hard. Like it hurt so bad because I'm like, I have this space, you know what I mean? Like we had administrative offices in the back of the gym, but they were utility closets. Right. That's where I kept the freaking mop and bucket.
But that's not, I mean, I'll give your mom that too. At least she wasn't.
No, she was. My parents
you're
were
failing. You have to come. You take care. You know what I mean? Because that's.
No, they were so involved, and like
awesome.
I said, I had a lot of friends too. I had people bringing me meals. I had people bringing me beer if I needed it, which I didn't drink at all during that whole time, which I'm very proud to admit that.
Go down a dark hole that way.
No, yeah, and I knew that. In fact, the second day after she said she wanted a divorce, my buddy Gary, really good friend of mine, was like, let's go out to, what's the place called? Flamingo Jack's. He's like, let's just go get a beer and blah, blah, blah. And I took a sip of it, and it was around this time, actually. It was an Oktoberfest, and I was like, and I love Oktoberfest. Mm-hmm. I sipped it, and I actually got sick. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, something is just telling me I can't do it. So I was sober until about January, actually, because she told me that at the end of September. And because I didn't touch alcohol because I knew it just wouldn't be a good road. So, so I thought long and hard, and my landlord was like, hey, listen, I'm going to do as much as I can for you, but we already have somebody looking at the house, and, things are going to happen, which I understood. You know what I mean? I understood. I'm like, okay, this is reality now at this point. So I remember, if you guys ever heard the term embrace the suck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Do you know where it comes from?
Oh, it sounds like a military.
It is.
thing.
Yeah. Do you know where it comes from?
I don't.
So it's a special forces adage. Embrace the suck, right? The only easy day was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm special forces. I'm not saying that I'm nearly at the level of some of these operators, but, I have worked with them and I have trained with them, and just a different level of people. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys could probably see, like, that's how I live. You know what I mean? I
feel like I've heard Jocko use that term before.
Yeah, embrace the suck, and it's a very much so a common term used in that community. And I have a lot of friends in special forces. Like I said, I've worked next to these people. I've never actually been involved in operations or anything like that. I would never put myself on that level unless I was truly in it. So one of the last few weeks in the house that I had with Emily, if we remember from the last episode, we were selecting her roof for our house.
Yeah, you had to pick out the color of
shingles.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
dude, that was
suburbia thing to do.
Anytime I hear shingles now, I'm just like, oh, God, there it comes. Yeah, so
that's a terrible thing to do anyways, replacing your roof. That shit sucks.
Yeah, it was, but they were taking off the price of the house, so it was all right. Anyways, so there was one moment in life when I've never really been depressed. I'm not a depressed person. Like anybody from who I actually knew in high school or who was at least associated with me or that knew me in that short time, people who worked with me at Best Buy, people in the military, they would never say I'm just not a depressed person. I love life. I love living, But there was one day, and I specifically remember it, where I laid in bed after I woke up. I canceled all my clients, which was stupid because I had to make money. But I laid in bed for 3 hours, and I just laid there, and I cried hard. You know what I mean? I'm just like, this is the end. You know what I mean? I'm looking at so much debt, so much failure. Like, what do I even do here, man? And we were talking, and it's funny. I kind of circled back to a podcast where we were talking about animals. You said you were in a college course where they said animals don't feel or whatever. And I know, and I called it out in the first episode. I said that's crap. But we kind of clarified it though.
Don't pretend like you were right.
We said that there was.
Yeah.
We said that I think we clarified that we agreed that there was personalities. You know what I mean?
Maybe it was our definitions of personalities and feelings and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And it was I think you made the really good point. It was there was a hard line, which I would definitely agree with, is thinking of the things that you're thinking and feeling.
Metacognition. Yeah.
Right. Metacognition. Right. I
Right.
was trying to
Yeah.
dumb it down for myself and
Yeah, all
maybe
good.
other people listening.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But it's
metacognition
yeah,
is
and
thinking
that's-
about your thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's exactly, I would,
Yep.
maybe my line's a little further than that than yours, but I would absolutely agree that
Yeah.
they don't think about
Yep.
their feeling and what they really mean or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Well, here,
So,
let me
yeah.
tell you what completely solidified why I love my dog so much. Like, truly, deeply love him. He hopped up on the bed. We had a king size bed. He hopped up on he would come up on the bed, but never like on his own accord. And you'd always have to coerce him because he's older. And come on. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't come up. I was laying in bed. This is like 2.5 hours into it, and he's like, "Okay, well, first of all, I have to go to the bathroom. Second of all, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?" And because I woke, I'm up early, and it's by this time it's like, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, "This is not like you, right?" I'm not, dude. I'm not even lying to you. This dog jumps on the bed, straddles me, like paws on my shoulders, and he looked angry, like he wanted to kill me, but he was just looking down at me. Like, he wasn't licking, he wasn't freaking humping or anything. He was just.
It's like, hey, you sad son of a bitch.
He's like,
get up.
No, like, for real, dude. Like, and like, I'm feeling that emotion right now. Like, I'm already feeling it coming in. He had his paws on my shoulders, and he just looked down at me, and like, he stayed there. He would not let me move. He freaking paws on the shoulders, and he just looked at me. And his, because his cute little face, all of his hair and fat was like, coming down on his face. And he just stared at me. And I'm like, and I'll never forget this because this is what I literally said out loud. I said, "You know so much more than I do right now." That's what I said to him. I'm like, "You know so much more than you. Like, this is not me. Like, this is not how I operate." So guess what? There's a reason why I'm telling this story. It was at that moment where I was like, "Get your ass up." And I tell you that I journal. I keep digital files, and I also write in my journal. That's why, like I told you, I always bring it. I always bring it with me. I laid in bed. I got him off me, and he was laying next to me. Pulled out my phone, and I basically started like a new little thing. I have a notebook program that I use, and I basically, this sounds so corny, but for anybody who's listening out there, I mean, maybe they need to hear it. I wrote "get up" as many times as I could on my phone until I realized that I was writing "get up," and I got myself out of bed. Get up, get up, get up right now. Like, get up right now. So I got up, brushed my teeth, did my thing, and I felt 130% better. I'm like, all right, what's next?
Yeah.
So I pulled out a whiteboard, and I wrote, "Embrace the suck" over the top. Big letters, big capital letters. Embrace the suck. What needs to happen? And I just started writing on that board. How much money do you have in the bank? How much money do you have in assets? How much money do you have in your retirement? What can you sell in this house? Where are you going to live? What jobs are you going to get? Everything was written out down to the freaking T. I had it down to the minute of what I was going to do every single day on this whiteboard. And that's when it started. That's when I was like, life's changing. It's happening right now. And sometimes that's all we need is just that catalyst.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
it's so, there's so many things that I could touch on that and have thought about that. It's, we've talked about, I think it was after the last one we did with Gary and Lisa, where we had a discussion. We had some kind of discussion about someone having a hard time and what do you do and where do you go? It's sometimes it's something as simple as Jordan Peterson talks about is getting up in the morning and making your bed.
Yeah, when he gave that speech, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like and I was always like one of those people that like I'm gonna get in it and mess it up anyway. So why do I make it? Like
It's one accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment. It's something something you can accomplish. Something you can step for. It's something you need to do. And
Right.
I think I told my daughter. I think it was literally today. I'm frustrated with something and I can't do this. Can't do that. Don't worry about the things you can't do. You know why? Because you can't do them. What can you do right now? What can you do to improve something? If you focus on what you can't do, what the fuck did that do you?
Right.
Nothing at all. What can you do? Where do you need to go? What can you do? And what should you be doing now? Like,
Correct.
And maybe sometimes just as much as just getting up and brushing your teeth or making the bed and going, okay, what's next?
Here we go.
Here we go. What's next?
Yep.
Like, even if it's sucky, What do I need to do?
Yep. Embrace the
What's
suck.
next?
Embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Yep. And here's the thing about embracing it too is it's like you have to get to a point when you realize that this is not going to be forever. It's not going to be forever. I'm 27 years old. I'm like 27. Freaking kidding me? I've got 75 good years left of me.
Oof. Jesus,
no,
this
I'm-
guy is,
oh, no,
he is
I'm good.
optimistic.
Optimistic. Excuse me. I'm living till 110 at least.
Yeah, that's what I said. You're
told my-
optimistic.
Yeah, 110 at least. If I die tomorrow, I'll be completely content with where I'm at in life. I feel I've made a footprint enough in my life where I'd be completely content with dying right now. Take my life right now. And I realized that actually on this last vacation I just took, and I'll be happy to touch on it. But like I was looking through notes and journals and photos and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm perfectly content with dying right now. If it were to happen, I've left enough of a footprint. I've seen enough things. I've been to multiple countries. I've met hundreds of thousands of people. I'll be all right with it.
And that's a beautiful thing. You know,
Yep.
it's funny that it's so weird. Some of the things you say, like, it just completely resonates with recent events in my own mind. Where, like, I was driving on the road the other day and I was like, man, like, if I were to die right now, like, that I mean, it wouldn't suck for me because I'd be dead. So,
It's all relative.
Yeah,
It's all
right. It wouldn't,
relative.
but, like, it would
Yeah.
suck for my family and all these things. But you
Sure.
know what? Like, from where I was
Mm-hmm.
and where I am, like, there are times in my life where it would be really sucky to die and leave that history and that's it.
Yeah.
But to, you know, like you said, like to leave a past that you've gotten up to, like, not that I want to die, but
Yeah.
you know what? At least I didn't die a piece of shit. At
Sure.
least I didn't die
Sure.
at this point in time where I could have done so much better. Or I
Sure.
could, you know, like,
Absolutely. People die every day.
and they're going to keep on doing it
Yeah.
until I do.
Like hundreds of thousands of people die every day.
Yeah.
And how many people do you hear about dying?
COVID.
It-
That's it. It's all from coronavirus.
oh, Lord. Holy crap.
I'm just saying, tell me it's not true. I saw something the other day where they said, well, it was the beginning of October, like I think it was like 2 million people had died, or not 2 million.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
maybe
little-
it was like 2 million people total have died in the U.S.
2 million.
2 million.
Not 200 million. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 million
Yeah,
people have
yeah,
died total
yeah.
in the U.S. At this point in the last 2 years, almost like 2.8 million people have died every year. So it's like, wait a minute. So our overall death toll is down by like 600,000.
Even though we're in a
Even though
pandemic.
we're in a
Even though
pandemic.
we're in a crazy pandemic.
Global
like,
pandemic.
like
right.
something's funny with the numbers. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Totally fine. So anyways, yeah, what I did was I wrote out this whiteboard and, you know, I'm skipping a lot just because it's boring, honestly.
Yeah,
It
we don't
really-
need to hear it all. It's fine.
Yeah. Shut up. It's not why we invited you. Just tell us the secrets.
Tell us about Nevada again.
God, I was just waiting for that.
Yeah, you said secrets.
Like, damn it, don't set them up for the aliens.
But yeah, so
I think my conversation about aliens might be more realistic and not as crazy as you think. But sorry, go ahead.
I thought you were going to say more crazy than my divorce. I was like, I don't know about that.
Dude, yeah, I got divorce stories, bro. It's so
Anyway, yeah, so
the gym.
yeah, the gym.
Your mom told you to live in the
Mom,
gym.
Yeah, and everybody said that. Everyone's like, dude, you have space. Just go do it. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, that hurts so bad. I'm like, dude, that hurts so bad. Like, and I have a 24-hour access facility. It's not blocked off. There's no door. Like, anybody can come back. It's a utility closet. That's literally where I'd be living. Like I told you just before, where I keep my freaking mops and buckets. Like, that's where I'd be sleeping. Well, guess what?
That's where you were sleeping.
That's what happened. And that's why I said, like, being homeless, it wasn't my home. And when I finally got there, God, I'll never forget the first day. It was so shitty. The first night, because, you know, I packed everything up and, you know, my ex-wife had a whole bunch of junk in the house. Not junk. I shouldn't say it like that. She had a whole bunch of stuff, things that were rightfully hers, some things that we owned together that I didn't want, that she was willing to take. And I got a U-Haul, and I told her, I'm like, listen.
I'm sorry. There's
Yeah,
just
well, whatever.
you know, there was a bunch of stuff in our house
Yeah.
that my ex-wife was willing to take. Like, I feel like he's just so gracious about it.
Well, because I didn't want any of it. Where the hell am I going to put it in my mop room? Yeah, I don't want
It
pictures.
was just the way you phrased it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
fair enough. Yeah, I don't want the live, love, laugh thing on my fucking wall in my mop room.
You're so gracious to take 75% of everything I own. Thank you.
So gracious, thank you. Glad that we're getting a dissolution.
This is amicable. I appreciate this.
Lord. Yeah, so I packed everything up in a U-Haul. I won't tell that story, but it was quick, you know what I mean? Because she wasn't showing up. So I was just like, all right, everything's packed up in the U-Haul. Dropped everything off, gave the bed to my parents. So they needed it. My parents haven't bought themselves a bed in like 30 years. They were still sleeping on like freaking, I don't know what they were sleeping on, the thinnest mattress in the world. So
It's kind of one of those, well, it worked last night. Well, I want to work tonight. Right?
Yeah, fair enough,
You know what I mean?
exactly. So, yeah, after all that, yeah, I'll never forget moving in there, and Naughton and I slept on the ground, cold ground, concrete, in a closet together, and he was so scared, and that's like obviously I love my wife, like that's of course I loved her, but like now all of my love was for this dog because I'm like now I have somebody to take care of, like I have to worry about him just as much as I have to worry about somebody else in my life because like he's my constant. He's always with me.
Well, he can't take care of himself
Exactly. So
after that many years of.
Mhm. And he was neglected and stuff, and so I'll never forget, man. Oh my God, what a shitty story. We end up in that closet together, and he's doing circles and he's pacing and stuff, and I'm like, come on, come here. You know what I mean? He's whining and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm a mess. I'm crying so hard, and I'm like trying to reassure him that it's okay. And
He's like, he
he's
can
like,
tell.
yeah, dude. And he like comes over to me, and just like that night when my ex-wife cheated on me on the first time when he hopped up on the bed and curled up with me, he curled up next to me so close, it was uncomfortable. It was like an uncomfortable close. He was like, you know how like you know Naughton, you know how he comes up to you and he just throws his body against you.
Once, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so cute and it's awesome, but like he was doing that like all throughout the night, and he would rub his head up against mine, and he would like lick me and stuff. I'm just like, I know, buddy, it's okay. We didn't get any sleep.
Right.
We didn't sleep maybe 20 minutes that night. I woke up the next morning, and I'm like, I remember opening my eyes because I didn't sleep much, and I opened my eyes and I'm like, all right, I'm in a closet, and I have to do this. I have to keep pushing forward, because if I don't, I'm just gonna die in the closet.
Right.
That's
What's-
literally what it is. And like, don't get me wrong, dude. I had people helping me. Like, I'm not gonna discount that. I don't want listeners to think that I didn't have help. I had family and I had friends. But here's the thing: I put myself in that situation because I knew it was me. It had to be me. I didn't want anything handed to me. I didn't want anybody's freaking handouts. I didn't want any. I accepted the help, but I never asked for it because I'm like, this needs to be figured out.
Right.
And that is very much so my, like when I do personal training. If somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm relying on you to make me lose 10 pounds. I say, get out of my office. You're going to lose the 10 pounds. It's not me. It's just how I operate.
It's not my 10
It's
pounds.
it's how I
Yeah.
operate. People come to me, they're like, how do you invest money? I'm like, get out of my office. How are you successful? Get out of my office. Hey, can you give me some pointers or whatever? Like, yeah, I'll happily help you. But if
Right.
you just want me to give it to you, get out of my office. Get out of my face. Like, that's just how I operate. And and that's just how I was. I'm like, I need to do this or else I'm gonna die, dude.
Well, I mean, that's
like,
it's a really make or break situation.
It
Just
is.
for going from
Yeah.
just bullet point in my mind, going from a person that was essentially born without a chance to live,
yeah.
having the circumstances that just align just right for them to be able to live, and then get in a sense mentally slightly tortured throughout their childhood because they weren't like everybody else, to finding your dreams, living the dreams, and then waking up one day in a gym janitorial closet.
You could not have said it any.
You know what I mean?
Seriously. So I have this notebook for a reason. Your words that you just spoke are literally exactly what I wrote down. Not even lying.
Well, I mean,
Maybe that's why we get along, Fred.
maybe because I can understand it. Because the homeless thing, yeah, do you have a place that you?
Yeah,
can,
I had heat. I had shelter. Absolutely.
But you,
But
in your mind, you've kind of lost everything else that you've worked for.
Let me-
And
let-
it was like you're just
Yeah.
starting over, and you wake up in
Yeah.
a closet, like to someone that had,
Dude.
in a sense, had it all. And then
Yep. Let me paint a picture for you.
Gone.
I was living in downtown New Haven, which isn't really the best city in the world, but if I wanted to, I could be in Manhattan in no time, right?
right.
Making six figures, well respected, had police departments that knew me by name, could call me at any time. I was making federal arrests. I was protecting the vice president's daughter. Flash forward 6 months, and I'm living in a freaking closet.
Yeah. Make or break situation right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Like serious, and mind you, not to pump me up a little bit, all before the age of 30.
yeah.
And I'm just like, and that's what kept me up at night. I was so upset. So rewind a little bit. I know I said this would jump a little bit. Before I ended up actually living in the gym, I reached out to my good buddy Rob, who was an agent friend of mine at the Secret Service. And I also have other friends in government agencies that I won't talk about. I won't say their name, but I reached out to them as well, people who I went to college with, because they ended up going to government agencies doing spooky stuff for a living. And I've never asked for help in my life. I really haven't. The only person I've really asked for help for was Dr. Hostoffer when he wrote those medical waivers for me for the military. So I feel like that's a pretty good reason.
Sorry, I know every single time I think about it, it's like, someone thinks you got AIDS again.
Oh, God. Is this the guy who has AIDS? This is ridiculous. This kid. Yeah, so I've never really asked for help my entire life. And but you know what? It speaks to kind of like how the reaction that I got from people when I said, "Hey," all I said was, "Hey, I need your help." And it's like, dude, it's like a coalition came together. All my friends, everybody were like, "What can I do? What can I help with?" Blah blah blah. And particularly my buddy Rob was an agent with me, and we went through training together. Great friend of mine. I mean, like a brother. And he's like, "All right, I'll see what I can do." He started the reapplication process for the Secret Service for me, along with my buddy Mike and my buddy Matt. They all worked in HR. Well, they were agents, but they were tasked with like HR stuff because they were trying to get more agents in because of Trump, and they needed more staff. So I knew that because that was part of the whiteboard. Well, that's what I had written on the whiteboard. I'm like, okay, am I going to go back to the U.S. Secret Service? Am I going to go to these other agencies where my friends work? Am I going to go back to the military? Am I going to go? Do I need to get a part-time job? Like all those were options, right? So all I said was, hey, I need help. And it's amazing when you never ask for help, and then you finally do, and then you're like, wow, this is what it's like to be humble, because it's like
Asking for help is hard to do.
oh my God.
I'm not very good at it.
It sucks,
I'm
dude.
terrible.
It sucks, dude. But when you do, and you know you got good people in your corner, it's so worth it. And that's
still
when
hard.
the people. But yeah, I know. But hear me out, Fred. When those people respond, that's when you know you keep those people forever in your life.
Right.
Don't ever forget that. If you ever reach out to somebody and for help, and they truly do help you, I know it's hard to like say like you reach out for help and maybe somebody doesn't help you. I'm not saying not to keep them in your life, but when somebody does come through, you better keep them close.
I will agree with that.
You better keep them really close. You better freaking send them flowers. You better freaking get them cards on Christmas. You better do something, because those are good people. So Rob, he pulled so many strings for me. He was sending letters to the special agent in charge at New York. He was like, hey, we need to get this guy back, blah, blah, blah. So that process started. I was hired in 3 months at the Secret Service. My ex-wife told me she wanted to be done in September. I still hadn't heard anything from like December, January, and I was getting really anxious. Because here's what happened. When I got into the gym, when I started living in the gym, I said, I will be out. I will be out of this gym. Whether the business will be sold, whatever may happen, I will be out of this gym by June. That's it. That's the hard date, June of 19.
Right.
So with that, I reached out to a friend who had an opportunity for me in Columbus, which is a really good job. I had opportunities in Florida. I had all this stuff going on, right? Well, then life started getting really screwed up, as if it wasn't already. Living in my closet, right?
But wait, there's
but
more.
wait, there's more. There's always more with my stories, and people get pissed at it for some reason. It's funny. I hope the listeners are getting pissed. They're like, "Oh my God, seriously, this guy's life sucks even more." So, yeah, we're talking. Thanksgiving comes around, And, you know, I still talked to Emily, my ex-wife, because we needed to figure things out, right? We needed to get actually divorced. You can't just say you want a divorce and then it happens.
Yeah, it's not easy.
You need to do paperwork.
You gotta go through the legal system.
Is it a true divorce? Is it a dissolution? Is it It's
a real son of a bitch. That's
it
what
is. It's a real son of a bitch. That's the best way to word it. Dissolution, for those who aren't familiar, is where you just basically say, "Hey, we're shaking hands. We didn't work out.
Right.
We've already agreed that I'll take this, you take that. No lawyers. You, me, a judge, and it's done."
See you later.
A divorce is let's get the lawyers involved.
Let's get nasty.
Yeah, let's get nasty. I want half the couch. I want half of this. I want that. I want the dog. That kind of stuff. Well, we decided to opt in for dissolution, but the paperwork never came. She's the one who wanted it. I'm waiting. I'm training clients. I'm still doing my thing. I'm still putting on my face every day. I'm still living in the closet every night. I'm still sleeping on the floor. All that. So I'm calling her. I'm texting her. I'm like, hey, listen, we need this. We need to get this figured out. We're still on pretty good terms. I mean, shit, before I even lived in the gym, she was coming over for dinners. And she was like having dinner with me. Like I was cordial with her. I was like, we need to figure this out. I understand you want a divorce. Whatever, I accept it. We need to figure this out.
Let's do it. If you're going to do it, let's fucking do it.
Yes. Oh my God, I'll never forget this. Oh my God. So one morning, I just had it. I said, I need the paperwork by Friday. This was on a Monday. I said, I need the paperwork by Friday. That's it. Or else I'm going to get a lawyer because I need to move on. Because at this point, Secret Service was like 70% away from hiring me again. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are like, wait, that means you're going to leave the gym behind? Absolutely. I was good. I already had a buyer lined up. Everything was lined up. I was ready to go, ready to pull the trigger. I said, I need to do this right now. We need to be official on paper because the Secret Service doesn't want me to see that I'm married, then divorced, and whatever. It's a security risk. So, I'm sorry. I'm just not. That's Emily.
Sounds a lot like your mom.
No. Okay. Maybe I'll make it deeper.
Okay. Whatever.
Gross.
I just wanted. Did you notice how he set these up?
All right.
Oh, yeah, I saw that was strategic.
I saw that a while ago, and I was like,
How many bars do I have?
I was like, that's not it. That's
For those who are listening on the podcast, I have all of my drinks lined up by height order. So.
yeah. Not that he's drinking all of them.
I was just about to say, like, everyone's thinking, like, all of his drinks.
Them.
Jesus.
But yeah. Oh, it was funny. It's so weird. So a moment of truth.
Yeah,
I was
go for
having
it.
a conversation to somebody about you the other day, and I was like, I'll see if I can phrase it properly. But I was like, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't know the stories and understanding and when I say that and knowing the person, it's like, obviously we haven't known each other that long.
Sure, yeah. But it feels like it, though.
Yeah, but you can,
Yeah.
there's senses you get from people and there's tells, which obviously you are good at the tells of people.
Right.
Obviously, for what
Like how I called you out on a lie just like 30 minutes
yeah,
ago.
but I didn't, it wasn't a lie. It was, I was processing.
Yeah.
And God damn it! All right. I don't feel bad about saying it now. Yeah. So I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I would say this guy's full of shit.
Absolutely. And I've gotten that so much in life.
Yeah,
And
but I'm like,
and I embrace it.
but at the same time, it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? All of these things, most of the things, the most important things, are able to be. Oh God, it sounds so disgusting when you think about it. Fact checked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
But so it's like, you know, like
Yeah. And that was
he
my,
would have a lot more to lose by saying certain things, and
Sure.
and then honestly, what's really solidified it is these drinks right here.
Oh, thanks.
It's either you're telling the truth and you have these weird mental things that you just live by,
Yeah.
or you're obsessive compulsive with heights and organizing things.
Well-
I'm going to go with you're telling the truth.
Well, I would hope so. And you know what? Can we rewind? Let's rewind.
Be kind. Rewind.
Yeah, be kind. Rewind. We're going to go back to when she told me she wanted a divorce when I was telling you that I was processing everything in my head.
Right.
Okay. Because this is actually a huge precipice of self-realization. So, of course, okay, Cassie tells you she wants a divorce. What's your first response? Why?
Huh?
Huh?
What?
What? Why? Why? What did I do? You know what I mean? That was me. Why? Are you serious right now? I just asked you to pick out a freaking color of our roof and you want a divorce. Like, what? Where the frick did that come from? Well, you know, she was treated better by other people on her deployment, and you know, she felt more. Well, hold on, we're getting there. You know,
that sounds dirty.
Well, so we're getting there. So, and you know, and she felt more appreciated, and blah blah blah, and everything like that. And I'm like, but what did I do? Like, I am working my ass off on building a business, so we have freedoms together. You know what I mean? Like, so we can live freely. Like that's like my uncle always told me. You know, work for your freedom. Don't ever work for money. Don't ever work for fame. Don't ever work for recognition. Work for your freedom. Mm-hmm. You know, and it sounds very like indentured servant, but it's very much so like you get to a point where you work hard enough to where your dividends that you're putting in pay for yourself. You know what
I mean, so a couple of things. Sorry to stop.
No, it's
you
okay.
so
Go
quick,
ahead.
But I'll touch on
Yeah.
indentured servant. We really are, all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
To the government, to society. Mm-hmm. You're not just born and you're given these things. You have to, if you want your freedom,
right,
you have to work for it. You have to build it.
Absolutely.
Now I lost.
That's all good.
I lost the
No,
second
it's
thing.
all
It was
good. Yeah,
that was
it's
the
all
point I was trying to get at too.
Well,
Either way.
her point was, I said, why? Like, what led you in less than 18 hours being home with me decide that you want a divorce? Like, this isn't like high school where it's like, you know, I don't want to go to prom with you anymore. It's like, this is very much so. And she was very young-minded. I get it. But it's like, I'm like, what happened? And she's like, Steve, you. So here's the thing. When you hear a term, sometimes maybe you may not understand it, or maybe you don't get it. You sometimes
Tony
use
does
it.
that to me all the time.
Well, sometimes,
I didn't have to
Tony though is Tony's educated though. Not that people who learn new terms aren't. I'm just saying, like, sometimes people use words like I don't know.
Oh, improperly? Are you talking about they just use them because
they just use them
Okay.
because they heard them. And like in the Air Force, we go through so many trainings and junk like that. And she goes, well, Steve, I feel gaslighted. And do you know what gaslighting means?
So the movie about gaslighting and
No, not at all. Do you know what it is?
well,
so-
that's where the term gaslight came from. Was the movie?
Oh, you're talking about the actual term like manipulation. Are we yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Like dimming.
My correction.
Yeah,
Then
no,
yes.
dimming the lights. And he
Yes.
said, "No, honey, you're going crazy. The lights aren't dimming," and he was dimming them the whole time.
Yeah. Yes, and it's
Right,
a
it's-
control method.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
putting an image out there that really isn't what it is to make people think.
And I never knew what that meant. And I'm like, I said,
That's a 2020 term that's
Oh,
coming in
right,
strong.
dude, it's everywhere. And I never knew that because I'm not on social media. I don't follow the news, right? And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means. You need to explain to me. She's like, you gaslight me. I'm like, okay, just because you say the word doesn't mean that it.
You can't use the word in the
Define it.
definition.
Can't use the word in the definition.
Yeah.
She goes, well, you're a liar. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's completely different.
Well, hold on.
Well, not
so,
completely, but-
so she's like, you tell stories that aren't true, and this is what made me think about that when you told me
Gotcha.
about the bottles, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but with all due respect, whenever you say that, you know it's bad. I said,
Yeah,
but
it's-
with
all due respect means without any respect
Yeah.
at all, motherfucker.
with all due respect, who cheated on who, and who came back and sacrificed all their dreams?
I mean, it's hard to argue with that one.
Okay, well, here's Steve then. Steve,
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Yeah,
Wait, hold on.
literally.
Pick it back up, Aunt. I said, also, who took a polygraph for the United States Secret Service to protect the frickin' president and passed?
Oh, Steve's getting an attitude.
So,
Well, I think I remember
Yeah,
the first point was communication.
yes.
You-
right, yeah.
In order to be pissed off at somebody, you have to communicate before you get pissed off.
Absolutely.
Because you can't just
Right.
come out and
Well-
just off the handle get pissed off at somebody if you haven't tried to
Well,
communicate with them first.
Oh, well, she took out the sword and wanted to behead the marriage. So I was just like, well, I'm like, hello, like, can I even be charged for my crimes? Like, that's where I was at. And so I'm like,
court martial me at least.
yeah, dude.
Like,
So,
I
but
don't know
that's
if
when
that's
when I heard that, I was, and that's literally what I said. I said, I was so angry, and I don't get angry. I don't. That's literally the only time that I can think of where I've actually been angry.
I think I don't know. I might find you humorous if you're angry.
That's
I just
everybody says that. It's so funny you say that, and
I
it's
just feel like,
well, it's
stop it,
bitten
Steve.
it's bitten me in the ass because
Steve,
when
stop.
if I ever tried to take command in the military or if I ever tried to do it, it was funny to them, and I'm just like it's bit me in the ass.
I'm sorry.
I'll just say that. No, it's okay. as an agent, it was completely different because I turned on a completely different face. Like I'm like, no one's
gotcha.
gonna know I'm funny. No one's gonna know I'm the cool guy. No one's gonna know that I like to be social, whatever. It's knock down the door, get your fucking hands on your head, get on the ground. You know, like
Right.
that's the precedent you have to set.
Right.
But I never, that precedent wasn't set in most situations for me because I am the way I am. So
Right.
it is what it is.
Bro, there's a T-shirt for that. Grunt Style put it out. It says, "This is my killing shirt," and it has a rainbow on it.
All right, I'm getting it. So, but yeah. So, and this is the reason why I'm backpedaling is because I called our counselor and Vivian, and she's
I
like,
even knew. I thought it was Veronica. But
yeah,
it was a
Vivian.
V. I was close.
Yeah, Vivian, and she's oh my god, she's wonderful, and she's like, talk to me, what's going on? And I was so upset. She was like the third person I called, and I'm like, you wouldn't believe it. After all the sessions we've been through, after all the growth we've made, I'm like, Emily just came back from Germany and she said she wanted a divorce, and she's like, and when she goes, like
She already knew it.
She already-
I feel like
yeah,
she knew.
dude.
She could tell.
and she's like, well, what'd she say to you? I'm like, well, she was saying this and that, blah, blah. I never said the gaslight word. So it was kind of quiet. I was upset, and she was kind of letting me catch my breath a little bit. She's very good at what she does. She lets you come to your own conclusions.
That's a good
Good therapist.
therapist
Yeah.
would ever
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So literally, this is what makes, I already feel my blood boiling. This is literally what she said. She goes, Steve, do you know what gaslighting is? And I was like, God dang it, Vivian. And I was like, oh, I was so mad. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, can I just, so I said, Vivian, I know you have an obligation to your clients. I said, but please, for the love of everything, tell me right now, have you talked to Emily? She's like, I can't say that. And
So
I
that
said,
means you have.
no, wait. No, I said, she probably wouldn't be happy with me saying this out loud, but I'm like, please, just tell me. She's like, no, I haven't. I haven't even seen her. And she's like, seriously, I have not. And I'm like, okay. She's like, do you know what gaslighting is? I said, Viv, I've heard that twice now. One came from my wife who just said she wanted a divorce, and one's from you. So I said, I need to know what I need to know what this means because I don't even have the ambition or gumption to look it up right now. She goes, honey, it's a type of manipulation, and you're being gaslighted right now. And I was like,
I was gonna say because it sounds like I literally almost said it. It sounds like she was the one gaslighting
well,
you.
wait. So I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm like, but she said she was doing that to me. She's like, I know. That's projection. She's like, do you sit up at night from what she said and think about it? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, she was questioning my integrity. She was saying I was a liar. She was saying I made up stories. She's like, when was the last time you made up a story? I'm like, never. Why would I do that? She's like, were you not a Secret Service agent? Did you not pass a polygraph? Did you not do this? Were you not the lead intelligence specialist on the base? She's like, how many times has Emily cheated on you? I'm like, one that I know of. She goes, yeah, you're being gaslighted, dude. And that's all she had to say to me. And I'm like, that was when I really hit rock bottom. I was like, man, bomb dropped.
Yeah, it's a hard reconciliation to deal with.
Well,
because-
when you
and
start
there's
to-
a
yeah.
lot of people like, they particularly when it comes to cheating in relationships,
Right.
where it's how I don't know what the percentage is, but I've heard it's quite large where
It's ridiculous.
the people that are accusing the other person of the things that they are actually doing.
Oh, it's so sad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it to me it just screams of a depravity in people in general, and like why is it so scary to be honest with people? Why is it so frightening for people to just
I don't even think it's honesty. I think it's like love and compassion. Like it's almost like people like are afraid to love so much because they're afraid they're going to lose it. That's
I think it's too good of a viewpoint.
you think so?
I do.
Oh, man.
I think people.
Well, maybe we disagree.
Maybe.
And I'll agree to disagree.
This won't be the first time.
Well, because yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's what makes us friends. But like my thing is like from the people that I've talked about, like they're like, I don't know how you could love your dog so much. I'm like, because, dude, like I freaking like he's my companion. They're like, you know, he's gonna. This is literally. Did I tell you
he's
this?
gonna die.
Yeah. You know,
No shit.
You know he's gonna die, right?
So
I'm
am
like,
I.
yeah, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna love him to the fullest ability. And it's like, if you go into a relationship like that, where it's like, well, I'm not gonna love you so fully. Because
you're gonna die.
well, not even because you're gonna die. Because at any moment, it's like, well, you know, maybe if I just don't love you that much that day, I'll just go cheat on somebody else.
That's loving fatalistically.
Right. Mic drop. Maybe I should drop my mic.
It's so hard to get out of the hole.
I know. I was like, how did he do that?
I don't think he did it on purpose.
No, not at all.
Can I get some of that Terramana?
Hell yeah, dude.
I want to see what the
absolutely.
Rock is
Oh
cooking.
man, yeah. Okay, so listen,
Let's
I'm.
see what the Rock
You
is
smell the
cooking.
rock is cooking?
Yeah, do you smell? So my mom. Okay, real quick. Here's my mom. So she always used to be like, "Hey guys, guess what I'm making for dinner?" And it was always. My mom loved making Mexican food for us.
Sure.
Yeah, she loved making tacos and
That's
fajitas
awesome.
and stuff like that. But we would always know when she was making it because she was always so excited just as much as we were. So she'd always be like, "Do you smell what your mama's cooking?" Because she knew we loved wrestling growing up.
Yeah,
But here,
that's
let me open
hilarious.
this up for you. So just for people who are listening, this is The Rock's, Dwayne Johnson's Terramana, which is the Resposito. Phenomenal tequila. It's absolutely amazing. So please help yourself.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a big tequila guy, but I'm gonna give it a go.
Well, like you said, you're a bourbon guy, and that's a little bit darker of a tequila, so it's got a really good flavor profile.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely, bud.
I feel like I need to drink it and do the eyebrow.
Do the eyebrow. As long as you're not doing the people's elbow on me, I think we'll be all right. It's just right in the middle of the podcast. Oh man, good.
That's actually pretty tasty.
You're right.
Yeah.
And the fact that you say actually means that you weren't expecting it to be all that good.
I don't really like tequila, so for me I've had a couple decent tequilas,
Yeah.
and they were anejos.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, because that's
Yeah.
a little bit closer to the bourbon. But
Right.
man, it's super flavorful. Like it doesn't have that. There's a taste that some like lower end tequilas have.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have it at all.
Do you want some, Fred?
Dude, it's good, man.
Are you empty? Yeah,
Empty.
he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I
well,
want
I
some.
wanna try the
Please, let me
rocks.
pour you some. Hey, I'm going to tell a quick story about this bottle, too. So I was on my birthday. I don't believe in days. I'll tell you that right now.
Dude,
My mom taught me that. I don't believe
Like Tuesday or Monday.
My mom taught me that. Steven, don't believe in days. Actually, it was more so my dad than anything because I would always witness my dad growing up. Yeah, go ahead, drink that, dude. It's really good. Try it.
You know, it smells almost sweet. Like it.
Well, it's made from agave, so yeah, you know you're naturally going to get that sweetness.
I don't know how tequilas are. I just like enjoying the
Agave,
spirits.
agave is like a syrupy fruit. You know, it's similar like maple syrup. So like, like you can get agave syrup. But go ahead, try it.
You know,
And
I've said before, I'm not a tequila fan at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if there's one mistake The Rock has done, we talked about that earlier. This was not it.
I was like, where is he going
Yeah.
with this?
That's probably the best tequila I've ever had.
All right, there it is. That's what I'm talking about, folks. And we're going to end the podcast here today.
No, because I have at least one more question to ask you. But yeah,
No, it's all good.
That's
Yeah, isn't
okay.
it?
All
It's
right.
phenomenal.
I've seen so many because I follow him and some other things. And
Yeah.
there's so many people who are like, "Oh, this is the
here's-
best tequila ever." I'm
here's
like,
what I
they're just
think.
on the rocks nuts.
Here's what I think makes it great. Well, it's not that The Rock is dipping his nuts in it. I'm just saying that what makes it amazing, maybe he does.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it doesn't make it worse.
Every
though, is what
Sunday,
you're saying.
every Sunday, he goes down to the distillery.
Just gotta put a little,
teabagging.
yeah. gotta put little rocks in the rock.
We said it was going to go here.
Yeah, gives
Here it is in all
gives a
its-
whole new meaning
all
to,
its
to
glory.
tequila on the rocks.
Well, I guess I'm never having this tequila. Jesus. No, I think what makes it so
I'm
good
not
is,
opposed to it.
Here's what makes it so good is like I truly believe that The Rock puts 120% into everything, and there's no way he would take a venture unless it was that good.
True.
It's a small batch. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it's mass produced. It's not like your Patrons. It's not like, you know what I
Right.
mean? It's not like that. I mean, every bottle's signed. Most of them are. You know what I mean? And they're labeled. for which batch they're in. But like, there's a lot of pride put into it, and I followed it, all throughout when they were making it. And I was super excited for it. But anyways, so the gaslighting thing, yeah. So when that hit me, that hit me
I was ready
hard.
to talk about the rocks more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That hit me hard, and that really made me realize maybe there's something else going on here. There's got to be, because the amount of sacrifices that I made, the amount of love that I had, I just truly don't feel like I was that bad of a person for someone to want to leave me just that abruptly. You know what I mean? And I'm skipping a lot of the story. There's a lot of great things that happened in between there, with the business, with my family, with all that good stuff. But I'm going to fast forward to the week before Thanksgiving of 2019. I've built the best friends in the past year that I have. I'll say that right now. Like, I have friends from college, I have friends from the military, but the closest and best friends that I have are all who came through this struggle that I have. Nate, my buddy Nate Stahl, he served with me in the military. He's a loadmaster, which is the guys who control all of the pallets in the back. They're responsible for all the passengers in the C-130, which is a big cargo airplane.
Yep.
Well, he not only works for the military, but on the side he does security cameras and access control systems and stuff like that. So I told him, I said, hey, listen, I would really like to get a security system installed in the gym. We had an incident last summer, which was whatever, but really, or not last summer, it was obviously like during October, November time. And I said, I would really like to get a security system installed. So he's like, okay, absolutely. I'll come in and check things out and get an estimate for you. So he comes in. He obviously knew we were going through a divorce. Pretty much everybody on the base knew. And I'm already feeling like how I felt that day. Shitty. Sorry. So he comes into my office and we're sitting down and he's like, you still talking to Emily? And I'm like, surprisingly enough, it's civil. It's civil. We're figuring everything out. Things are pretty good. It's getting worked out. I'm like, he knows Vivian. Everybody knows Vivian because she's the base counselor. And he sits down on my couch, and I used to have a couch in the office where the supplements are now. Mm-hmm. And he sits down on the couch, and his face goes white. And I'm like, are you okay? He goes, Steve, I haven't really known you that long. I'm like, true? I'm like, what's up, buddy? Just spit it out. He goes, you told me that things are kind of like cordial with you and Emily. I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's been through a divorce and it was really nasty. He's like, my hands are so sweaty right now. I'm so sorry.
I mean, you're not touching me. So.
I could. He's like, I need to tell you something, and I know it's not going to go well. He's like, when we were in Germany, on the way back, at least on the flight on the way back, Emily had a hammock that she hung up in the back of the airplane. Like, you can sleep in the hammock. They have like litters and stuff like that, like medical litters that you can sleep on. She's like, he's like, I'm just going to cut to the chase. She was sleeping with another dude in the back of the airplane.
Jesus.
In front of all my colleagues that I used to serve with. Like right now, I actually feel the soul leaving my body because that's literally what I felt. I'm like, dude.
Maybe you need to throw that shit out the window. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just gotta.
Well, when he told me, have you ever, when you get nervous? Like, I'm talking like true nervous. Like, have you ever been through trauma? Like, have you ever had like a wound? Like a traumatic wound, like I'm talking like your freaking leg was cut open or something. Like, have you ever had a bad wound? Shot? Have you ever been shot or anything like that?
I haven't.
Like you?
No, I think maybe not I've had a couple physical instances that are close, but I think it's that to me you almost feel like the blood.
Yes.
Just leave everything and go.
That's exactly. Okay, so when I was little, I was riding my bike down a hill where I used to live. And the pedal came off, and the bolt that holds the pedal on dug into my leg.
And the wheels fall
Yeah,
off.
no, yeah, right.
I think that's the title of this episode.
right. The wheels fall off.
The
Oh, that's so
wheels
good.
fall off.
That's so good.
Yeah.
No, but the bolt that held the pedal on, I was pedaling so fast, and I was fat, so I had a lot of momentum.
You mean the bike had a lot of
Gravity's a motherfucker.
I love this. I love it. I love this right now. My dad's laughing right now because he remembers this story. He's probably like, "Ha you peanut butter eating fat ass."
Yeah, that's what you get for eating my peanut butter out of
You
my own
jackass.
jar.
All right, now I'm busting open the Terramana. So, no, what happened was the pedal that was holding, or the bolt that was holding the pedal on, the pedal came off, and I was still pedaling, but the bolt went straight into my leg, and obviously you're in a pedaling motion, so it decided to meat grind my calf. That's what happened to me when I was little. So what happened was I rode all the way down to this dairy deli that was on the bottom of the hill where we used to live. And I go into the dairy deli and I'm like, and they're like, what do you want, fat kid? And I'm like, my leg. And I look down and I see the bone and I see the fat and I see I know I just said I'm fat, but like obviously everybody has fat and they're like, but I could see everything moving in there. And at that moment, that was the same feeling that I felt. It's shock, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The blood rushes away from your brain, and you're ready to pass out. And one of the last things I remember is a guy came up to me. He actually kind of looked like you. It probably was you. He kind of looked like you, and he's like, hey, he goes, hey man, hey young man, I'm a Marine. I'm gonna take care of you real quick. You need to tell me what your parents' names are and what their phone numbers are, and that's pretty much all I remember. Like 20 minutes later, I wake up. I'm pretty sure I passed out. And all I remember was, I want to be a Marine. And then I passed out because I was like, I don't know, I was like
This guy's
7 or 8.
cool.
I was like 7 or 8 years old, but I have this huge scar on my calf. I know people who are listening probably can't see it, but
He's gonna show us.
see that right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's like a chunk missing.
Pretty gnarly. So
I went to school with a guy who's a class under me. The story was I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
But his grandpa was.
does he stack his glasses like this?
No,
Well, then it's not true.
Was he eating crayons?
No, different.
Well, then it is true.
No, his grandpa had him on a lawnmower, and he fell off when he was real little.
Oh man,
His
that's
leg.
terrifying. That's terrifying.
It was. Luckily, obviously, I went to high school with him, so
Sure.
he survived. But
Right.
ruthlessly, as we
Yeah.
do as football players, we gave him all kinds of nicknames like decaf.
Oh,
Decaf coffee. Yeah. He was a good dude, though.
Shit.
Yeah, it was a good
That's
dude. But
bad.
it was a good nickname.
yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That's perfect. That's very well fitting.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Sorry.
yeah. So, anyway, that was I remember feeling the same exact way. I was like, it was like PTSD. I was like, oh my god. I'm like, and Nate was like, can you imagine? Like we've known each other not even a year, Fred, but can you imagine like
2 months, 3 months,
and like really that's like cumulatively like how long Nate and I knew each other. But like we instantly had a bond, kind of like us. Like you know what I mean? Like we have a bond. I feel like we all get along.
yeah. There's definitely a difference when you meet somebody. You could know somebody for 5, 10, 20 years.
Sure.
And then I feel like there's those people out there that you connect, and I think there's something weird with that. And I won't
agree.
get into the aliens or anything like that.
I agree.
But there's something different there where there's
came
people
from the same pot kind of thing.
Yeah, there's
Right.
some kind of synergenic wave
Yeah.
that you hit with some people that
Yep.
you're like,
yeah, you resonate with them.
yeah,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
some kind of connection there that
Yeah.
I don't have to know you for 10 years to
Yep.
know.
And
I
that's-
got to know you more than like a day or two at
Yeah.
least. But
But that's Nate and I. Nate and I. Because, like, I mean, Jesus, I briefed him before he left to go freaking fly missions. Like, him and I had a very close bond. Like, I very well may be the last person you see, Nate. Love you, buddy. Go have fun on your mission. That's what we, that
like
was the bond we
Wesley
had.
Hunt shit that he was talking about, putting soldiers as a politician in the battle.
Oh yeah.
Where he was like, because he was was he Army? I don't know what he was. He served. He was like now he's running for Congress. Where he was like the recollection of knowing somebody and making a decision that's going to put these military personnel into battle, and them looking back at him, saying, "Okay,
I'll go do it.
like I trust you because
Yeah.
I trust who you are." and I know
Yeah.
who you are and
Yeah.
where you came from.
And that was my job. That was my job overseas. That was my job, plain and simple, in the military. People trusted me. That was it. I tell you the information, and they're like, "All right, well, there's got to be some validity to it," because
That was
Steve's
the
telling
job.
me. Steve's
Yeah.
the intel guy. He's got to know.
Yeah.
And if I screwed up, I knew it, because if I gave false information or if I over exaggerated or whatever, it meant lives.
Right.
That's the truth. It meant lives, you know? So anyways, when Nate told me that, I actually don't remember him leaving the gym. That's how much it fucked with me. Because when he told me that, I was like a lion. I was out for blood. I was like, this needs to end. I cannot live like this. Because I was like, okay. Like, I accepted it. And granted, I was living in the gym and things were weird, but this was the weekend before Thanksgiving. Like, you know, the time when you're supposed to spend time with family and be thankful and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
So that afternoon, and she's a night nurse, and I called her. And I called her. I said, I don't care what you're doing, pick up your phone. I don't care if you're at work. I don't care if your cat's dying. I don't care if your mom's dying. You need to pick up the phone right now. And she's like, what's going on? What's going on? I said, meet me at this place. It was a middle place for both of us. I said, meet me at this place immediately within the next 20 minutes. I don't care if you're at work. I don't care where you're at. She's like, is everything okay? I said, no, everything's not okay. And I need to meet with you right now. Luckily, she agreed. We met in a Starbucks parking lot in Fairlawn, which is, if for those who aren't listening in the States, like in the middle spot between, like, you know, Cleveland and the middle of the state, Columbus or Akron area.
Right.
And she pulls around. She pulls in. She's like, what's going on? I didn't even say hello to her. I got into her car and I said, when did you think it would be appropriate to tell me that you slept with somebody when you were in Germany? Like, we're talking the second instance of cheating, and you were never going to tell me. Like, when did you think that was going to be appropriate? Oh, never. I was like, and I wasn't even expecting that response. I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I was going to keep you in my life as like a constant. Like, we were married.
Right.
You can be my ex. We can still get along. I'll
Right.
still tell you when my grandpa dies. I'll still tell you when my dog passes away. I'll still tell, like, and she goes, well, it was already over, so. I was like,
Right.
absolutely not. You were wearing a freaking ring. You were married. Like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
Like,
So I think going back to kind of way we had touched on earlier is, and we had a kind of a disagreement. I don't remember exactly the words that I used, but you know, we talked about the honesty of people, and people are, you know, maybe they're not necessarily scared of being honest, but they don't even know what that means.
yeah, honesty is just a lost trait.
Yeah. So, and at the same time, so I think there's just so many thoughts rolling through my head right now.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go for it. I've been talking too much.
Well, so I think there are people out there that they don't even comprehend really what honesty is.
Right.
And because they live their lives daily in a state of unhonesty. I don't think that's Tony's
dishonesty.
dishonesty. Thank you. Dishonesty.
Not honesty.
Yeah,
Right.
not being honest. But at the same time, you have to consider that it's not even, they're not doing it on purpose. The nuances that we live in on a daily basis are just so disproportionate that what makes it so hard for us to connect with people these days. We have social media, we have all these different things, we have people telling us how to think, how to feel, and we are so disconnected from our own thoughts and feelings, and we're so driven towards what we should think and what we should feel that it completely just skews our entire lives to a certain extent. So some of those people, they don't they're just getting through.
Yeah.
And they never even come to the point of going, oh, I'm kind of a shithead sometimes. I think that's one of the most important things for a human to do in their I've always said like late 20s, is most people probably could do that, is to realize if you can get to the point to realize I'm kind of a shithead in some way, shape, or form in my life, then to me, at least that was to me. And I think we've come from different backgrounds and different things, but like when I get to the point in my life where I can go, I could change some things. I could do things differently. Whether it be I'm tired of taking your bullshit, or I'm tired of telling you lies. I'm not going to tell you lies anymore. I fucked up, this, that, whatever. You know, I think especially nowadays with everything, there's so much at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. We're getting filtered all these things that we're getting overloaded. And our weird chimp brains that have evolved, or however you feel we got here, are just being so compacted with so many things that people don't even know what to think about themselves anymore, let alone other people. So it's hard for them to be honest with other people when they can't even be honest with themselves. That's what I got told, I was telling you about on that episode of, it was number 7, Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying, where it really hit home with me, where we were talking about you can't be honest or do anything productive until you're honest and productive with yourself.
Yeah.
And those people that can't get to that point yet, it's almost like should they be held accountable? Like, yeah, but at the same time, like, from being one of those people that was not honest with themselves, was not productive, and was always lying to themselves and everybody else that they encountered, those people are in a different realm. Not to say that they shouldn't be held accountable for what they did or what they do, but it's just the understanding of that person doesn't even know what they're doing because they can't even be honest with themselves.
Are you a Matthew McConaughey fan?
I'm not
as a person, not an actor.
I don't know. I'm a fan as an actor.
How about yourself?
I'm not. I don't know as a. I don't know as a person.
All right.
So
Yeah.
my mom.
I don't
and
know him super as a person.
My mom and I are huge Matthew McConaughey fans, not because of the movies that he's produced.
I want to listen. He just did a podcast with Joe Rogan.
Did he really?
Literally just like a week ago.
I got to get on it then.
You got to get on it. I think you
have
really like the Joe Rogan
I
stuff.
have a tattoo of, not of Matthew McConaughey, but one of his sayings.
Okay, good, because that'd be creepy.
So Matthew McConaughey's
On your
on
butt
my
cheek?
he's on my calf. He's always there. No, one of his sayings, 10 years hero, and I'll happily touch on that. But when I was going through, okay, so after that incident, you know, after Vivian told me that I was being gaslighted, and that was like
After you were just told that
I was being gaslighted.
You were gaslighted.
So talk about I'm a glass jar of emotions.
Stick a rag in me, light me on fire, or break me. I don't know. Whatever. Let it explode.
Yeah. So when it came to that point, it was almost after that car ride home. I said, well, first of all, what I told her when I left that car is, you were going to be a constant in my life, but I want you to hear me loud and clear. I never want to see you, speak of you, think of you. I don't want you to ever reach out to me.
Done fucked up on that.
Yep. No. Ever again. Yeah, I know, right? But like herself.
Right.
Ever again. Never, ever, ever again. You know what I mean? Like, it is gone. Whatever was there is gone. And when I got home, when I was living in the old house, when she wasn't there anymore, when I was figuring out everything, I'm going to share something with you guys. I'm actually going to pull up my phone right now, so we're not wasting too much time here. I didn't want to listen to music. I didn't want to listen to anything that would really remotely reminded me of her, right? Because that's just what I was going through. I listen to motivational speeches all the time. C.T. Fletcher, Goggins, yeah, The Rock. Those are my,
I love me some CT Fletcher. I got a couple of T-shirts with CT Fletcher's words.
Les Brown. Are you familiar with Les Brown? He's a huge motivational speaker. He used to be a Ohio representative. Anybody who knows me knows that I very rarely listen to music. I actually listen to speeches. Even Ronald Reagan, man, like some of his speeches, some people dub it behind some music. You know what I mean? It's just phenomenal motivator. So,
I had some of my best lifting workouts to CT Fletcher.
yes, absolutely. Me
The
too.
one is here.
Yeah.
I am the one.
Command you to grow. So Matthew McConaughey did a speech at Texas A&M, graduation speech, and it was phenomenal. Great speech. And it was about 42 minutes long, but there's a great YouTube video out there that cuts it down to about 10 minutes, like in between, like all the key points.
Right.
And it's basically about happiness. Happiness and joy, the difference between happiness and joy. So I refused to listen to music or anything like that. So I'm like, you know what? I know what's going to get me through. This is what happened. This is what helped me when I got rejected from the Naval Academy. This is what happened with my first relationship. I wanted to listen to this specific speech. I played it over my stereo and I played it over my headphones when I was working out. I played it on the way to work. I played it in between clients. I played it so much that after the storm had settled and everything like that, I'm going to do some math here really quick. So, according to my phone right now, let's see, 412. Hold on one second. So, I listened to it. Right now, my phone says that because I have Samsung Music. It shows you how many times you've listened to the track. 4,000.
The guy that's so worried about
Yeah,
signing up for Facebook.
Whatever. 4,128 hours.
It's a lot of hours.
That's how long I've listened to that speech. 4,128. It's about a 9-minute speech, so we're divide that by 9. That's 458 times that I've listened to that speech. I can almost match the cadence of that speech because I've listened to it so much.
I must have watched the Turtles movies when I was a kid a lot more then because I I'm just fucking
But
with you.
one of the key things that I took from that is after we met each other in that car, he says in his speech, defining ourselves by what we are not is the greatest definition of who we are. So sit down, find out who you are not, and that is the best place to start to develop who you are. And that's what I had to do with myself. I sat down. I have my notebook here for a reason. And I'm not lying, you guys. I'll pull it up right now. I'll show you guys the pages. What are you not? That's what I wrote out. What are you not? I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheater. I'm not an asshole. I'm not this. I'm not that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, good starting point. That's what I am not. I wrote it down. It is fact. Now, what am I? I'm honest. I'm loving. I'm caring. I'm emotional. You know what I mean? Like, all the things, like, you have to define what you are not first to define who you are. And that's really just what propelled me into realizing, like, self-love. Like you said, you cannot begin to even think about loving somebody else until you can love yourself.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
I do not care what anybody says.
Absolutely.
Like, if rebounds in a relationship, like if you rebound, there's a reason why they're called rebounds, and there's a reason why they don't work out. Because you
bounce the fuck off of them.
Yeah. Because you just have not had enough time to just sit down with yourself and say, what do you want? What do you love?
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are you? Look at yourself in the mirror. You know, people just don't look at themselves in the mirror. They look at themselves in the mirror for themselves, for their hair, for their eyes. Oh, is my beard looking good?
You
Blah,
do
blah.
have nice eyes.
Me? Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but my thing is
Got them
like,
baby blues, bro.
but like when you look at yourself and you can see into yourself, that's the difference. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. And it's so crazy to listen to you talk about your past and all those things because just reflecting, it makes me reflect on myself. Because I was the exact opposite of all the things that you looked at yourself as. Tony and I have talked about this before in other podcasts. But when I looked at what was I not, it was honest, joyful. Like I was all the things that you wouldn't want to be. And but at the same time, I'm just kind of making some generalizations here. To parallel our thoughts, your thoughts towards yourself and my thoughts towards myself was we didn't love ourselves. We didn't like ourselves. You happen to learn to love who you actually are.
Right.
I just happened to realize that I was a shithead and go, I need to change myself into somebody that I can love.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
But that's
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Being able to say,
stop.
I like being who I am. Like I'm going to be who I am because that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of power in that for people.
There is. Yeah. And it's overpowering sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's super powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you got to turn the volume down. People
Yeah.
can't listen to this at volume 11.
yeah. Yeah.
We need to turn the volume down on this shit.
I think Anthony's getting hungry. He's busting out the beef jerky.
Oh, it's pretty good. What else? You got I know you got some elk over there.
Yeah,
and
there's elk, bison. This is just the regular beef. So help yourself, boys.
Hell yeah.
Dude, hold on a second. Let me just bust in here.
Please. Yeah, please,
Jesus
man.
Christ,
Jeez.
I told you.
I'm just
Who are
listening.
you?
I'm just
Interrupt.
listening. I know. I'm
Yeah.
just listening. So,
Bust in.
Gosh.
number one, I'm still waiting for June to figure out when you came out of the closet.
What? What a dick.
No, so here's why I had to hit you with some.
The actual closet.
I get more.
Not the
I get more.
proverbial.
I get more in a week than you get in a year.
There you go, bro. There you go.
Oh, that's funny.
Is that,
No, so
is that in the closet?
Here's baby blues. Those baby blues.
Baby blues.
No, here's my real question. So
Jesus.
this kind of follows up on you picking yourself up, man. On you. This is just the beef here. On you picking yourself up. And so I had a client the other day that or a patient, excuse me. He listens to this podcast. Loves it, by the way. Loves it. So I'm excited
Chronic
for him.
curiosity.
Yeah,
Good,
yeah. I'm
good,
excited
awesome.
for him to hear.
Good.
He'll probably hear this actually. And
Very good.
so he was talking about just getting motivated to work out. And he was like, how do I get, I can't do it. He's like, I'm gaining some weight. Like I can't do it. And so I kind of broke into a little motivational speech, if you will, which was super cool to be able to do this. Yeah. And this goes back to what you're saying about looking yourself in the mirror, truly looking yourself in the mirror and being like, dude, who is that? And he's like, I can't even look at myself in the mirror when I take my shirt off. And I'm like, dude, that's fantastic. I was like, that's fuel. I said, dude, you need to use that somehow. I said, he's a stay-at-home dad. And I said, why don't you take a small section of your house? And I said, dude, turn it into your room, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I said, I want you to wake up as early as you can in the morning. It's going to be very uncomfortable before, you have the kids. Cause he's like, I don't have time. And I said, dude, that's bullshit. I said, everybody's got time.
Let me get on the time aspect. And I'll rip that apart.
I said, everyone's got time. And I said, and I'm not, everyone's got time. And so I said, wake up at 5 a.m. or whatever time in the morning you need to wake up at. And I said, go down to that room and whatever it is you need, put mirrors all around the room. Look at yourself and get disgusted. Whatever it takes. If you've ever been to a point where you love the way you looked or you love the way you felt, like, dude, post those pictures up. You want to post some pictures up of Goggins. You want to post some pictures up of Jocko. Whoever and whatever it takes to find some motivation. I said, but before you get into that motivation, I said, find your calm. I said, find your calm. I said, meditate. I said, introspective thinking, whatever it takes. And I said, and then after that, I said, find your chaos. I said, calm to chaos. And I said, and then figure out who you want to be. And then stop. Just stop with the bullshit. Stop with the excuses. And I said, it goes back to what Goggins says about uncommon among uncommon. Mm-hmm. I said, do you want to be like every other human being? And I said, and I'm not saying you're in competition with everyone. And I said, but that every other human being is who you're looking at in the mirror. Do you want to be that person right there, or do you want to change? Yeah. So my question to you is, number one, where did that come from, man? Able to pick yourself up and make those changes. Number two, when you're with your clients, I know that you deal with that on a daily basis, the motivation. So what do you say to them, man? Like, how do you empower them? How do you impassion them, if you will? Like, Let's hear it.
So when particularly in fit, here's the thing about fitness, is some things in life you just can't do. Some things in life you just can't do one more of. You know what I mean? So like maybe you're working a job and you're only allotted 40 hours a week, right? So you have no overtime. No matter how hard you work in those, that 40 hours a week, you just can't make any more money. You know what I mean? Like 40 hours, that's it, man. Sorry, we don't have enough money for overtime. Or, I don't know, let's equate it to, oh man, because fitness is what I always go back to. So like I always look at fitness as like a paycheck, because you're getting pay, but you can always give yourself a raise. And this is kind of what I'm going to get to.
I like that.
Yeah. Seriously, fitness, you can always give a raise. You know why? Because there's always something more you can do. When I started building fitness programs when I was 13 years old, I said, if I run a 10:59 mile today, I will, not maybe, not how I'm feeling, I will run a 10:58. The next day I'm going to run a 10:57, I'm going to run a 10:56, and then I'm going to run a 10:55. If I did 10 push-ups today, I'm doing 11 tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's it. So every time am I going to have failures? Absolutely, man. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to fail physically. Maybe I'll fail mentally. It doesn't matter. But like going into it with that mindset, it's the mind that has to take over every single time. So for me, I realized, and it happened when I think the real thing was when I finally got into the military. That was the big thing for me. So many people told me no. I had the Pentagon, the Department of Defense medical staff for the military say, no, you're not Captain America, all this junk. You're never going to get in. And then look what happened. There's me shining in my blues at basic training, getting my photo taken. You know what I mean? So it's like, you want to talk about motivation. It's like you have to get to a point where you realize where nothing is impossible. It was impossible to get to the moon. It was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. It was impossible to do all this crap. Seriously.
He's looking at it because he knows I was thinking,
he knows the moon.
but did we go to the moon?
He knows the moon isn't real. Well, here's what
you
is
started that. That's your fault that time.
Well, maybe Roger Bannister is an alien because that dude broke a 4-minute mile in the 1940s, and everything's impossible until somebody does it.
Well, I think that's what it boils to me. That's kind of what you're talking about. It boils down to is
And then we got to get to the client thing, but I'll get to that in a moment.
To find your motivation. Everyone has motivation in different areas, and it's when you wake up in the morning or when you're going to do something hard or trying to talk to somebody that isn't motivated. Well, first you have to figure out what motivates you. And it always changes.
Here's the thing. No, it's not that it doesn't change.
Well,
it's a lot of people don't even know what it is, and that is a good majority of my clients.
No, I will agree with that. So we even have,
but they don't even know. That's the thing, and it's not something to just be brushed over. Some people don't even know what motivates them.
Right. No, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? That's a big issue.
We had the discussion. It was funny. Once again, we had talked about before after the last podcast we did.
Yeah.
We did it the same after, we talked to Gary and Lisa, where it was like, man, we should have kept this rolling because this is really good. Mm-hmm. And one thing that Gary was saying, he's like, how do you help somebody that's looking for help? And it was like, well, sometimes you just have to think about, you have to put your options on the board,
right,
as it were,
and
go, okay, that's bad. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? Mm-hmm. And you have to almost back yourself into a corner,
right? Yeah,
and say, no, I'm gonna choose the good one.
Right.
This is it. This is where I'm boiling down to.
Mm-hmm.
In not even choosing, you have to put yourself into a position where you can't choose. Mm-hmm. You have to put yourself in a position where you have to do what's better for you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like what I said. Like,
right. Yeah.
To me, like, I even told him that, and he was talking about a person that he knows that has an addiction that's very detrimental to their life. And, I kind of shared that, I can relate to somebody like that because I have that I have an addictive personality where I can latch onto something and I can really dive into it. And it was
right
funny
here.
because
Yep.
Lisa was like, "Wait a minute, are you seeing like your personality is addictive?" And I was like, "No." Like it hit me like literally like a week later. I don't know if you noticed when she said that. She was asking me like, "Wait, are you seeing like your person like is your personality addictive?" Like. Where it's like, no. I'm saying like I have a personality that I get addicted to things. Yeah.
Well,
But it was like,
it's more so of a dedication. Yeah.
well, no, to me, it's not it's not dedication. It's
Well,
I want to.
addiction and dedication can kind of go hand in hand.
They
but-
can. So like, so to me, it goes hand in hand with chronic curiosity. I have this. Just as soon as there's something new,
Yeah.
or as soon as there's something that I'm learning, and I'm like, oh, like I just dive
that's
full
me.
force down into it.
Yeah.
And and I've told the story. I think I've told it on the podcast where like when I was a younger kid and I was 17 or whatever, my mom was like, I decided to quit football. I was really good. She was like, "This is just like you. As soon as you start getting in this, as soon as you get good at something, you quit." And that's always stuck with me.
That's tough.
And she was right. I'm not mad at her for it because she's. I still do it to this day.
Right.
As soon as I get mediocre. Yeah, mediocre. But there's like a
Mediocrity.
yeah. As soon as I get somewhat good at it, I'm like, okay, go learn something else.
Well, that speaks to your character though, because a lot of people just live in comfort, and that's okay with them. Like I have members at the gym that come in and do chest every day. Every day. They're just always on the chest press, and they're just, and I'm like, when are you going to work out legs? They're like, it's bad for your knees. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and it's like they just stay there and do it all day, every day. That's it. That's all they do is come in and do chest.
Yeah, but I just
Yep.
just in that it's
comfortability.
not even that, but it's there's just something about.
Well, yeah, because if you get good at something, then you're comfortable, and then you're confident in your abilities. And then the moment that something else comes into the mix that you're not capable of doing, you either don't do it or you try and you fail miserably at it.
Yeah, or you
and
could become excellent at something, which being
doesn't-
excellent at
doesn't
something
happen overnight, though.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
It doesn't happen overnight.
it doesn't. But I guess I've reflected at myself.
Yeah.
There's so many things I could do that I might become good at,
Well,
but I don't give it enough time.
Well, people are rewarded in public for what they practice for years in private. It's when coach isn't looking. It's when the trainer isn't looking. That's why I tell people, okay, so I want to circle back, Ant, because I know you asked the question.
True.
So
I don't even remember what he asked.
No,
He
I'll
asked-
stole
he
it.
asked-
I'll come back.
I'm going
to
down
it.
the
He
top.
asked-
I'm
It's
a
all
rabbit hole
good.
kind of guy.
Yeah, we got
He
the-
shook his head, made me
Yeah.
think of aliens. We have that connection, and it's his fault because he's like,
Well, he asked for my motivation. So Ant, I will answer your question about me personally very simply.
Yeah.
I can't explain that to you. I'm so sorry. I can't.
It's all right.
You'll never.
You just did explain it.
You did,
Yeah.
yeah, but you. That's like 1/100th of it. You'll never understand what goes on in my head. I'm sorry. You just
it's
won't.
like Elon Musk.
Yeah,
Did
you just won't. Like people are like, "Wow, you just did 315 on a squat. Like, how'd you do that?" I'm like, "Don't ask me, because I won't be able to explain it to you. I don't know." Like my friend Whit, she's phenomenal friend of mine, best friend. She asked, I failed. That was that day that you came in actually into the gym, and you're like, "You guys PRing today?" Remember that?
Oh, I do remember
Yeah,
that.
and I was just like, you tap into something just so not in this dimension that just lets you do it. It's the mind. It's the mind.
Sounds like an explanation to me.
So yeah, but it goes much deeper than that. It's just for my clients though. However, your question is, I always do a consultation.
Yeah.
I think it's a flaw on big box gyms where they're like, "Hey Tiffany, welcome to Joe's Fitness. We're going to be pairing you with Anthony today, and Anthony's going to be your trainer." And then you're like, "Okay, here we go.
That's your first fucked up.
Do your warm up."
Don't put Anthony with
Yeah.
anybody that's on
But
their
I'm
first
just saying,
day.
like, but and then Anthony has his little script. They're like, "Okay, do your warm up. Okay, do some air squats. All right, let's go over here to the chest press machine, and then we're gonna go over here and do some hamstring." It's like, Jesus Christ, man! Like you don't even know your client. I call it personal training because it's very personal.
Yeah.
First, they communicate with me first. Hey, I want personal training. I say, great. Then I meet them in my office. Then I send them a consultation form. Then we have a meeting. Then we have another consultation in person. Then we start training.
Yeah, what do you want?
And people are very like, they're like, wow, this is so involved. I'm like, we're talking about your life here. Do you want it to not be involved?
True.
Like, I don't understand why. I don't understand where the disconnect is. And that's why I have a low client load, but I call them high ticket trainers, or high ticket clients. Like they pay well because they're getting world-class results.
Right.
And I've had phenomenal success stories, phenomenal. And I tell people, I'm like, listen, like my one client, Nicole, I know one thing. You ask like where the motivation comes from.
Yeah.
She's a single mom. Her son's name is Rylan, right? She, as most parents should, she will do anything for her son.
True.
Anything. HIIT sessions, high intensity interval training, are freaking terrible. Battle ropes, slinging some weight over your head, sprints, that kind of stuff. She'll be huffing between her 10 seconds little bit of rest that she gets. I'll literally, like, people think it's creepy, but my clients love it because that's what they come to me for. I'll literally go up to her while she's got her hands on her knees, she's down, she's huffing air, and I'll say, what would Rylan think of you right now? And she's like, she just gets angry, and she just finds
God
it.
damn you, Steve.
She just finds it inside of her, and then it's like, and then at the end, she like, they'll get upset and they'll get emotional, and it's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And she always goes, you know exactly what to say, when to say it, at the right cadence. She's like, thank you for what you do. And I'm like, I take pride in that. So that's what I do with my clients. And it's very hard for me to have an unmotivated client who doesn't know, who are just like, I want to drop 10 pounds. I'm like, no, you don't. No,
Well, that's such a different class of people,
It
too,
is.
because
It
people
is. It
think
is.
different
Yeah.
ways. Because I think it's funny because you mentioned that, and my wife, God bless her soul, she looks at that the same way as what would my child think of me right now, and that's a
Absolutely.
big motivation.
Yeah.
And some people they have so many different categories
Yeah.
of what
Sure.
motivates them.
Sure thing.
And to be able to find what motivates somebody, and then to be able to push their buttons
Right.
in a positive way.
Sure.
Is I mean that's a trait that not many people have, to be able to push buttons in a positive way.
Right. Let me ask you something. Is the next 30 seconds guaranteed?
Yeah, never.
Never. Good answer, right?
Yeah.
This ceiling in this place that we're in right now could just fall to the ground right now. We could all just die right now. Would you be okay with that? Not many people would. They'd be like, man, I wish I would have done this morning. Man, I wish I would have told my kids that I love them more. I wish I would have worked out. I wish I could have made an impact in somebody's life. Every moment that I wake up, every second that I wake up, right when I open my eyes, I'm like, well, what am I going to do today that if I were to die today, I would be all right with it? That's how I live my life.
Right.
That's every second. Literally the moment the alarm clock goes off, I open my eyes. People are like, well, don't you like lay in bed for a little bit and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I have those days, but they're like maybe the 1% of days. Because when I get up, I sit up and I say, what am I going to do today that is going to make a difference in this world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny. It's become at my house Saturdays when I wake up, and if there's like something that we're talking about planning to do on a Saturday afternoon, or we're doing this, like I get up and I'm like, what am I going to do for the next 3 hours?
Right.
Because like I'm one of those people that when I go to do something, I want to fully invest myself in it.
Right.
But when I know I only have like 3 hours, I'm like, well, that's not full. Like I need to dive in. Like, so I'm like, what can I do for 3 hours? And I guess I can mow the grass. I guess I could do this. Like, but I'm like, no, like I get up and I make the bed. I get up and I like literally. There's times where 6 o'clock in the morning, I will fully dress for the day, put shoes on.
Yeah. Little
just
victories.
to go make breakfast.
Little victories.
Just to go make breakfast. And I'm like, well, I need to do something.
Yes.
But then I'm like, fucking 2 hours. I gotta go do something.
Here's what gets me.
Like that's disheartening to me.
Here's
Like,
here's what gets me. Here's what gets me. People talk to me about this, and they're like, "How do you do it? How do you wake up at 3 a.m. every day? How do you stay up till 10:30 every night? How do you get sleep? How do you grind? How do you do all that?" And I always just tell them, I'm like, "Does it sound exhausting?" And they're like, well, yeah, that's why I'm asking you. I'm like, well, you're absolutely right. If you don't accept that, if you don't think that life is exhausting, then you're already failing.
That's why you die, right?
Yep. Yep. So I'm just like, I operate every day knowing that at any moment I can die. That's how I live. Because living without knowing that you're going to die means that you're not living for anything.
Can't live forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly,
Listen to the
come
little.
on.
Listen. This is what Steven Spielberg once said. A great speech. Listen to the little whispers. Listen to the little whispers that tell you, "This job sucks. I hate this cubicle. I hate my job. I hate my life. I hate I hate my wife. Jesus, man, you are torturing yourself. You know what I mean? Oh, I hate this. I hate that. If you wake up every day thinking that, there's your solution right there. Fix it. And everyone's like, well, I can't. I got to support my kids. I got to do this. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Who's holding a gun to your head right now that says you have to go into that job that you hate? Well, no one. And a lot of people argue with me about this. And I'm always like, what do you have a passion for? Well, I have a passion for guns. Go do something with guns. Well, it's just a hobby. Go do something with guns.
It might. I mean, like, at the same time, it might take a couple months to transition.
But it's
into
like,
it.
but the
But
moment
if you don't start
but the
today,
moment, yes, but the moment, oh, I have a passion for whiskey. Okay, okay,
amen, brother.
Amen. Yeah, right. And it could be anything. It could be cars. It could be time clocks. It could be phones. It could be writing books. It could be literally anything that you want. You are only limited, but you're only limited by the things that you think you can do, but then you talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And here's what's frustrating. Here's what pisses me off so bad, because I'm coming from it. I could very well just be still sitting in my office in the Air Force. Like, that's literally the truth. I could. But I took a moment and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to make money doesn't mean a thing anymore.
Yeah.
How much money can you take with you when you're dead? None.
Zero.
How many material things can you take with you when you're dead? None. You can't take any of that crap with you.
Yeah.
The only thing that first of all, you're not going to take anything with you, but at least the thing that you can leave behind is the impact that you left. Mm-hmm. So if that means showing to your kids that, hey, you know what, little Timmy, you can literally do whatever you want. And here's a prime example. Dad loves guitars. So Dad went and started making guitars and left his crappy job that he hates. That is going to continue to breed greatness. And it's going to be a cyclical cycle. Just like we were talking about bourbon right before when we went off mic. That dude who's from what was the brewery? What was the bourbon company that we were just talking about? The younger black guy that his dad was working for the company.
Buffalo Trace?
Yeah, Buffalo
Is that what you're
Trace.
talking about?
Yeah, like there you go. Like his dad had such a passion for creating that legacy, and then his son looked at that and was like, "I need to do that.
No.
I don't want to work on a farm. I don't want to work in a cubicle. I don't want
Fuck
to."
that noise.
Yeah, dude. So
Well, it's just realizing, obviously there's things that you have to take care of at the moment, and that's
Yeah.
not to
yeah,
discredit. Hey, I have a mortgage. I got a car. I have these things.
oh, don't get me wrong. You have your obligations. Don't
Yeah,
get me
you
wrong.
have you have
Yeah, yeah,
obligations,
yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah.
if you can, when you make the realization, like it's not going to come tomorrow.
No, no,
You know what I mean? But
yeah.
if
Work towards it.
it's I picked up the saying. I don't remember where I picked it up from, and it's funny because I'm in the tree industry.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked up the saying recently. It's an old one, but like the best time to plant a tree
Right now.
was 100
100
years
years
ago.
ago.
100 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but the next best time to plant a tree,
No.
Right now.
right now. And
most people, it's right now. That's why I say that, is because most people are just living day by day, paycheck by paycheck. And I'm not saying that money is going to bring you happiness and success and joy.
it sure fucking helps.
It contributes. I would say it contributes. It doesn't help.
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't help. It negates some of the negative aspects
Sure. Yeah.
of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So-
because you need money. Yeah, we live in a free country, but yet it costs so much to live. I get it.
Yeah, unless
get
you're
it.
able to skin bison
Yeah.
and make coats out of them, and
Yeah.
obviously
Sure.
that's but if you're in a position where you're living a life you don't enjoy, every single day you keep going down the exact same path, you're going to
it wears on you so bad.
you're going to still not enjoy the life.
Right.
So you make a choice. You go, you know what, today I'm going to start this thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this little thing that's going to give me a little side road to start on. I still have to go to my job.
Yeah. Yep.
I still have to pay the insurance. I still got to, pay the bills.
Right.
But, I'm going to start training people.
Well, and that's
It might not support me,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
going to start a podcast, or I'm going to start 5 different businesses.
sure. Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. Well,
And I'm going to work 2 different, NP jobs, different areas. But it's
Come on, don't sell me short.
3 different NP jobs.
4, 5.
God damn, I don't know,
Where are you
bro.
at right now? Anthony's on a totally
Yeah,
different level.
I made fun of him for years
Yeah,
for
but
not
you-
actually working a real job.
But now we aspire to be like him.
Well, no, no, we're 2 different creatures. But
Creatures is a good way to describe it.
yeah, but he's working jobs.
Mm-hmm.
He's working jobs.
Well, oh my God, it's so funny because I was listening to your podcast the other day where you said you don't really know what you do. And listen.
I agree with that. I
Listen,
don't think he does.
wait. You know what's funny? And the reason why I think that we get along so well, too, is because somebody asked me that the other day. And I said, you know what? I listened to a podcast the other day of one of my buddies doing, he's running this podcast. And I say, I'm on the same level as him. I don't know what I do.
Yeah.
I don't. Because people ask me, they're like, man, what do you do with your day? Like, aren't you? That's what apparently other people sound like to me.
I love your voice.
I have voices.
I love your
I should be a
voices.
voice actor. Shit. Like, yeah, what do you do with your day? And I'm like, I don't know. I coach 2 sports teams. I own 2 businesses. I do motivational speaking. I go on podcasts. I freaking like people are like, what do you? Well, what's your job? And I'll never forget when I started the gym. My one buddy's wife was like, well, what's your 9 to 5? Because she's so into
5.
that. Yeah, she's so into.
Anything that's not a 9 to 5, that's my 9 to 5.
Yes,
I wanna
dude.
avoid that
Right?
like the
Yeah.
plague.
No, and that's why I try telling people is I'm like, I don't think you understand. I work 24/7. I work 24/7, and they're like, "Wow, you never get a day off." I'm like, "No kidding," because the moment I stop, it all
Yeah,
stops.
life doesn't give you a day off.
Yeah, when we did that little preview, you posted that preview where I said a very specific line, and it didn't resonate with people really well.
Yeah?
Yeah. And
I thought it was a really. The next one I have is even better.
is it with is it with mom?
Yeah.
So the line was, I said, the one thing I always believe in is me. And I said, because I know when I'm not around, nothing else will exist. And people are like, wow, that's really selfish. And I'm like, okay, but sit down and think about it though.
That's that bullshit.
I
That's
know,
what
yeah.
that's what
Wait.
society has taught you.
I know.
If you think
Yeah.
about you, nothing else exists.
Yeah. But here's what I told
Like,
the person.
Guess
And
what?
I'm not
if
going
you
to.
don't exist, then you don't exist. So
they were
therefore,
just-
to you,
Yeah.
nothing exists.
They were a random follower. I don't even think they're a gym or a member at the gym, but they're like, wow, that's pretty selfish. And I said, but think about it. I said, if you were to die, what would you remember after your death? They're like, well, nothing. I'm like, well, then there you go. If you're dead, it all stops.
Yeah. And
They're
you're-
like- but then they say, they're like, what about the legacy you leave behind? And I'm like, well, think about the legacy you're gonna leave. I'm like, are you gonna be able to observe your legacy? They're like, well, we don't know that. I'm like, exactly. So the moment that lights go out on Steve Naughton, on Fred Wynn, on Anthony Adamdrovich, guess what happens? It all shuts off
in their eyes, that's
because it's
done.
perception. Perception is reality.
and there's
So-
even people that will say perception actually is reality.
Yeah, reality. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
And that's
But that's what I'm saying is
a
like,
lot smarter than
well, what happens
my
when
brain
we?
can handle.
What if our brains are just making this up right now?
Yeah, or no, yeah.
Think about it, dude.
Yeah. No, well,
That's
there's-
why I try telling people. I'm like, listen, like it's not. It's everyone's like, what about the legacy you leave behind? Everything like that. I'm like, okay, it's all well and good. Trust me, I'm on point with you with that. But the moments that your lights go out, you're done. That's it. No more.
It doesn't matter anymore to
Yeah.
you.
To you, because
Maybe-
you're gone. So
Right.
so why not? Why not do?
Everything you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just so eye opening too.
It's very philosophical and very very theological. But go
It
ahead.
is,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the sad part. Maybe that's the disappointing part that I see now is, and I don't mean to come off as like, kind of like that holier than thou kind of attitude, because this is just something that I have really grasped in the last year. I mean, COVID has brought more introspective thought to me and benefit to my life than almost everything else that I've ever experienced. There's a couple of key points in my life that have really, held my life in its hands and where it was going to go and where it hinged upon.
Right.
But this year has been so eye-opening to go, I have a chance. I have an opportunity, regardless of my 9 to 5.
Right.
Like, in my 9 to 5 is pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
But then when I realized that, guess what? My 9 to 5 doesn't mean shit.
Well, it doesn't define you either.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Yes, it takes care of my family. Like it does.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
all these things,
Yeah.
and honestly, I'm more. It's so weird because I'm like, literally 9 months ago, I was so appreciative of it because of from where I came from my past. I didn't grow up. I grew up poor.
Yeah.
I grew up with times that I didn't know what I was going to eat.
Sure.
For dinner or lunch or breakfast. But I'm now even more appreciative of it because it's given me the ability to take care of my family. Yes, that's the first one. But now it's allowing me to do this right here.
Yeah. This awesome podcast.
Yeah, and it's given me the wherewithal and the capabilities to do this and sitting down with people and having these conversations that I never would have dreamed of 5 years ago. And, I know, like, it's weird because, like, I'm not that old, but I'm older than some and, but I'm younger than most or older I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's when you can sit down, it's such a weird paradox
For sure.
of sitting down and looking at yourself compared to everybody in life
Right.
and realizing where you're at, appreciating where you're at. And, it's one, because you look at, this is one thing that's been a struggle for me is throughout my life is looking at other people. And I understood my struggles that I had when I was younger and looking at other people and their different struggles and going, wow, like I feel like I went through some struggles, but look at what this person goes through.
Yeah.
Look at what that person goes through.
Sure.
And then you go, if you really have the wherewithal to look across the world.
Yeah. So many people.
And I know, and the scary thing to me is I feel like I understand just enough. And I feel like we talked about this in the last podcast. I feel like I understand just enough to understand that I don't understand what's happening across the world.
Oh, not at all. No way.
You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
and just right off the top of my mind, you look at the Uyghur people.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, people in India who, and this is very blatant and whatever of me, but you look at the people in India who are bathing in shit river that they think is holy. Like, just the water, like they don't have clean water.
Yeah.
And you look, the Uyghur one, I think it seems incredibly strange to me that nobody is talking about it. And I don't know. I haven't done enough research on it, but I've done enough to know that there's something weird there that's going on that is eerily paralleled to Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
I don't like I said, but like
Kind of, yeah.
and
In a way.
just similar.
Similar,
Yeah,
I
it's not
wouldn't say,
exactly. No,
yeah.
it's not exactly what's going on, but it's
Yeah.
in this day and age, it's eerily paralleled.
Sure, paralleled. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
with
not
that.
not on the same track, but paralleled of
shit.
this is some weird shit going on that we're allowing to go on. But all those things were like, and then here I am, sitting here worried about this, that, or whatever, or
Right.
the troubles that I had, regardless of how traumatic they were to me, but they weren't that.
Sure.
So it's like understanding that these people are
Yeah,
like, and then putting that perspective to yourself and just like,
for sure.
all right, so then it's, what can I do?
Yeah,
Me
right.
to not only help people that are going through these traumatic things, but at the same time, what can I do to help wake up these dumb motherfuckers in the U.S. that are like, oh, you messed up my almond milk latte from Starbucks.
I like how Anthony walks in.
Yeah,
right
and he's just
as
like,
we're
"What do you
talking
guys
about this?
what's
like,
up, bro?"
Wow, shit.
Oh, what time? Oh, fuck it. It's 5 o'clock, bro.
No, it is not.
It is.
What?
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock.
Holy crap!
Help yourself to anything you want. It's just a trick or treat thing.
I mean, we're going to have to close up at least, but maybe we'll take a quick break.
Yeah, take a quick
We'll
break. Holy crap,
potty break. And,
dude! Holy shit! Like what? Well,
yeah, so
after a brief intermission.
brief intermission. Yeah, Tony had to walk away.
Well, I wouldn't say it like that.
Well, no. He had some prior obligations.
Tony
We went-
Tony walked off set.
He was like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, he had obligations with his
Yeah,
family.
and
So
and we got way off on a tangent.
oh, we sure did, and it always happens.
But
that's okay.
That's honestly, it's not even that it happens. I think to me, that's the intent.
What happened? What happened right when you told me how long we've been recording? What happened? All three of us went, "Are you serious?" We're like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, it was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
in.
dude, it's amazing, and that's what's great about this is like the communication. It's so wonderful,
And it happens
great.
every single time. The last time we sat down,
Yeah.
and it was funny because I even mentioned it after we did the podcast. I told Tony that when we sat down with Gary and Lisa, like everybody seemed, and I kind of told you this, like the first time that everybody seems kind of like tense because which I totally get.
Yeah,
I
well,
totally get because you don't know what's going to happen.
You feel like you're like somebody asks you to come on the podcast and you're like a star. Like you gotta you have to have a script.
Are you going to interrogate me? Like what question? Like, and I remember having the conversation with a couple people when the first time before you came on, it was like, well, are you going to have like scripted questions? Like,
right.
I said, no, fuck the script. I'm done with the script of life. Like, no, there's no questions. Like, there's a couple points, but
you know
I
what's
just
funny?
want to talk.
You know what's funny? You know what the name of my high school? Because I told you I spoke at commencement.
Right.
You know what? Guess what the name of my high school commencement speech was?
I hate when people try. I have a terrible imagination. I had a great imagination when I was younger, and it got destroyed. So I don't have one anymore.
So basically, what we were just talking about, it was called scripted.
Scripted.
Yeah, and I basically said, yeah, as a high school student, I was like, stop living your scripted life.
Yes.
It's not written for you. You have to write your own book. And like, you know who was who started clapping before the students? The freaking adults. They were like,
yes,
absolutely. You know what I mean?
Stop.
And I basically I wanted to instill that into my class. I'm like, I barely even know you guys. I've only been here for like 2 years because I went off. And obviously, if you listen to the first podcast, you understood a little bit of my story in the beginning. I'm like, dude, get away from the script. Stop doing what society wants you to do. Oh, you have to go to college. You have to do this. You have to get your 9 to 5. You have to get. I'm like, no, dude, stop. Oh, you have to be happily married and blah blah. No, The Rock didn't get married till he was in his 40s. Man, look at him. He's pretty damn successful, if you ask me.
If you're going to be married, make sure it's happily.
That's what I'm saying.
But you don't have to be married.
It's not. It's not a script. You don't have to go get this job.
Do this
you don't have to do this. You don't have to, go and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, geez, oh, Pete's. But anyways, I don't even know where we left off.
No, but I mean, even saying that, like we talked about, I don't remember which one, but I've talked about before where the day that I felt like I made it, it wasn't when I made a bunch of money.
Yep.
This day, like for the vast majority of my life, I grew up not having a bunch of money. My mom raised me, didn't have a bunch of money, and I didn't. I didn't come from money. And the day that I made it, in my mind, quote unquote, was when I was able to provide somebody's paycheck for a week. to them.
I
One of
remember
my
you saying
employers.
that in the first podcast.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if I said that.
Yeah,
It
you
was
did.
like-
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
it was like
That's
and it-
super,
like,
super
I
realization.
didn't make a bunch of money, but it was like, you know what, like I'm not, the day I made it, it was when I don't have to worry about my next week.
Sure.
And it was like, man, just to be able to live life. Like that's the day you make it. Just to be able to go out, wake up in the morning and to enjoy who you are, who your family is, who's the people, who the people are that are surrounding you, what you're doing. To me, that was, I made it.
Yeah.
And I no longer wake up regretting
Yeah.
or frustrated about my day.
I will agree with you, even though I went through all the chaos that I did. And I tell my friends this all the time. And I actually tell them because I want to hear myself say it. I actually wake up happier every day. Like even when budget looks tight, even if my dog is sick, even if I'm in an argument with a friend or a family member, like still every day is the happiest day of my life. And people are like, well, I wish I could be like that. I'm like, holy crap, dude. It's a mindset, dude.
Yeah. And I'll go so far. It's not necessarily just the mindset. The mindset's what gets you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you have to get yourself there.
Yeah.
There's a period of time where
Getting
you have to
there-
have the mindset to get you there.
Getting there, then the maintenance and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. It's very much more involved. And I'm not trying to make it simple because it's not. Yeah, it's not at all.
Jinx,
I was
owe me a Coke.
Oh boy. So yeah, I was talking to a friend the other day. Actually, she's a prior client of mine, and she's like, living the dream, I guess. Because I asked her how she was doing. She's in the military, and she's like, living the dream, I guess. I'm like, man. Make sure you wake up.
Oh God damn.
Yeah. 'Cause that's why I always tell people
Yeah.
they're like living the dream. It's Friday, and I'm like, when you get to wake up. And they're all like, "Oh, well, that's a dick way to say it." I'm like, "Well, no, it's actually
realistic
It's
way.
a realistic way because here's the thing: if you say it sarcastically like that, like I'm living the dream, I'm like, okay, well, listen to me right now. Pinch yourself, wake up, and go freaking chase after your dreams.
I mean, you're not. Yeah, they
Jesus.
don't, and they know they're not. Because I mean, I say that
sarcastic, sarcastic.
a lot, and it's. I think there's.
I speak sarcasm. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I feel like that, and I think you can understand that I do as well. I feel like we've interchanged sarcasm and different, but it's understanding what you're saying.
Sure,
you know what I
right,
mean.
right,
Like,
right.
obviously, I know it was. To me, it was humorous sarcasm. Even a week or so ago, when I saw you in the gym, and it was
I
like,
already know what you're gonna say.
yeah, it was like, dude, I was there. It was like 7:30 in the morning.
Yep.
and
And I'm rocking and rolling.
yeah, you're just like, woo, life is good. And I remember it was Monday, so sarcastically, and this was just being funny. It was like, it's fucking Monday, Steve. And I remember you were like, it can be whatever day you want to, Fred. And I'm like, fuck you. Don't put your positive attitude on me.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, don't you push that on me, you motherfucker. Like, but at the same time, like, I get, like,
Yeah.
I was there. To me, that
Yeah.
was, I was there.
Yeah.
Even if I'm, and I say, like, and it was funny because somebody else showed up. Maybe it was the next day, and I felt the same way. Mm-hmm. But I was like, they're like, oh, we can work out, and I was like, yeah, you don't work out. I'm just going through the motions. They're like, well, it looks like it's really hard. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes going through the motions is really hard.
Yeah, being a parent, going to the gym, doing your job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
sometimes
hard.
going through the motions is an accomplishment.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's where people kind of sometimes lose it, where they think like, I'm just going through. I'm not going to do it if I'm just going through the motions. Well,
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it when you're just going through the motions, then what's going to make you do it when you're exceeding going through the motions?
Right. Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
So if nothing else, you at least have to start at. When it comes to working out,
Sure.
you have to start going sometimes. And it sounds really negative, but there's a point where in your life where, let me back up. If you're going through the motions every single day and that's all you've done for your entire life, or that's all you've done for the past 5 years, you need to stop going through the motions. But
or
if
just,
it's
or change your emotions,
or change your emotions, right? But if
Yeah.
it's man, I'm just struggling today.
it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah,
Go through the motions today.
It's all good.
But tomorrow, make sure you prepare yourself
Right.
that you don't have to just go through the motions.
Dude, and here's the
you
thing.
can advance.
Oh my gosh,
You know what I mean?
I've had so many clients and members, friends, family members that have said, "Don't you ever have a bad day?" And they're like, they say it like that, like angrily. They're like, "Don't you ever have a bad day?" And it's almost like a jealousy kind of thing. I feel like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
okay, like if you feel that way. I'm
Fuck
like,
yeah, dude. I just
but
don't
I'm
tell
like,
you about it.
Yeah, man.
Because I don't
I'm
want
like,
to piss on your parade.
Yeah, I'm like, do you ever like? Do you think I don't? Like, of all the crap that I've been through,
Yeah.
like here, I'll be honest with you. Today, I'm not having the greatest day.
Yeah.
I already told you when we were off mic. I'm not
Yeah.
having the greatest day today. But here's the thing, like, it's a mindset. It is a mindset.
At least a portion of it.
Yeah, and you know what? I got through my workout today. I have beautiful friends that were texting me and telling me everything's going to be okay. For people who are listening, my dog's sick. He's not doing well. Got a lot of things on my mind. Busy week. We're over here freaking talking about my divorce. Like, yeah, that's what I want to do on a Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? It's like, and we haven't even gotten even into the deep, dark shit, which I hope we get to in this episode. But it's just like,
Not today.
you're right. It's just not the day for it
Yeah,
because
it's
we're
the day
already been
for it.
doing this for 3 hours. But it's just like, you know.
We'll get to it, though.
Yeah. And
will.
it's, people are like, don't you ever have a bad day? I'm like, here's the thing, though. I control every day. That's it. People think that they're like, what about external circumstances? And I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, you know what? If there's a school, people are. This is the
Yeah.
one thing that really resonated with me. One of my members was like, "Oh my God!" This is when school shootings were happening. They're like, "Oh my God, did you see that school shooting?" I'm like,
they haven't ever happened before. They
Yeah.
aren't still happening.
and I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it." They're like, "Doesn't that make you angry?" And I'm like, like, not really. Like it pisses me off. Yeah, it kind of makes me like irk inside, but it's like, am I gonna like not be able to like operate throughout the day because of that?
Well,
No.
and it makes me sad that that people are in that state of mind that
yeah.
they feel like they have to do something like
Yeah,
that.
and they're
they
like,
have to deal with that.
Did you see what Trump said? Did you see what happened in Syria? Did you see what? I'm like, you are so wrapped up in the things that you can't control that you can't even control yourself.
I think it all goes back to that map. I really want to so
Oh, that
we talked
the
about
histogram.
Yes.
Oh, dude, that histogram is great.
Dude, well, we talked about so
you need to print it out and put it on the wall.
well that's literally
Yeah.
that's where I'm going is
Yeah,
when we had the last podcast you know, obviously we're in a different setting now for anybody that's watching it video wise.
Yeah, we changed scenery a little
yeah.
bit,
Well,
and it's very welcoming, man. This
very
for those who are just listening on Spotify or whatever, like
pumpkins.
we're literally sitting on like
Yankee candles,
a
not
table.
even fake Yankee candles.
No, this is like real
It's a-
Yankee candle.
It's a real Yankee
Yeah,
candle.
we've got like the
smells
whole
delicious.
setup. Like when I walked in here, I actually thought that like my family was going to be here because there's like
It's like
bourbon,
it's like a Thanksgiving
tequila.
deal. Yeah.
yeah,
But so we're redoing the room.
yeah.
I fucking don't remember.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Where was he going?
Yeah, there was a point that I had there.
Anthony's not here to reel us both back.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
I know.
Obligations with the family.
Yeah.
bull crap.
Yeah, whatever. Daughters. Yeah. I'm at the answer to mine here in about an hour. Yeah. But you know, we're redoing the space. We're getting ready for a new environment, whatever. But it's people have been so disconnected from their environment, as it were.
Yeah.
And there's so many things to get upset about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And they're rightful. Like
Yeah.
it's totally justified.
Yeah.
But like you said, what does that do for you today? You know, it's okay to be upset about something that's going on. And like we talked about
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
the Uyghur people in China
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all these
yeah.
different things that are happening.
India. Yeah. India,
like-
right? Uyghur people in India.
No, China.
Oh, you said India. I thought you meant China.
Did I say India?
Pretty sure you did. I was going with the flow because I don't really know too much about it. But
The Uyghur people in China. And no, I talked about the Uyghur people in China and the people in India
yes,
that
okay.
are bathing in the the rivers and
yeah.
they don't have clean water. Like
Yes. Yeah.
I think it all came back to the best day to live in America is tomorrow.
Yes. That all circles back to that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like people they try to take on too much. And at the same time when they do that, they stop taking on their day-to-day. And they stop taking on the people around them. And they look at the people that are beside them and they just get so pissed off. And they're just, people are so fucking angry. And
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about anger?
why?
Yeah.
Like
It's not even anger, but it's almost like anger pushes you to a point of emotionless because like
I can relate to that because that's how I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was so angry I was emotionless.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that you affirmed that for me because when I tell that to people, they're like, well, anger's an emotion. But I'm like, no, listen, it's like a whole nother level. It's like where you're so angry, you're so mad, you're so disconnected where you just literally don't give a shit about anything.
You just throw up these walls.
Yeah.
You just live in your own little tiny private.
Yeah, and you know what? And I've run into I've had clients like that. Personal training clients.
I think there's a lot of people like that. And I think it's weird because we talk about the America thing. I think that state is even more probable in a place like America today. And I think we see it from coast to coast.
Sure thing.
The anger and everything that's being displayed, it's because you're put in a situation where you don't have to deal with harshities in life, true.
Well,
and there's people that do, but there's so many things that like I'm just going to say this real quick. We can just scoot on by it.
Yeah.
But you look at people and things that are happening like Antifa.
Yeah.
Those are all rich white kids. What the fuck do you have to complain about?
Yeah.
Like you're complaining about shit because you don't have anything to complain about.
They don't have they want to be a part of something. That's what I was just talking about.
And then they're a part of destroying shit and fucking up people's
but
lives.
They want to be
like,
here's the thing though. They can hang their hat on it. That's the thing. Is nobody in our
go ahead and shoot me in the face. I don't want to hang my head on that.
But here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I do trust me. I'm right there with you. Nobody. Oh, well, that's a fallacy. Hold on. Let me backpedal.
Yeah, sorry. I was kidding.
I don't want to say like nobody, everybody, you know what I mean? Like those are very big, words to take on. My thing is just so many people want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of something.
They'll be a part of anything.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, well, and it very much comes down to like the high school, like clique thing. It's like, well, I'm not a jock. I'm not emo. I'm not a prep. I'm not the nerd. It's like never, at least in my experience, even like dating back to like the 50s, there's always groups of people. We've always had groups of people. You know what I mean?
It's so tribal.
It's tribal. Yeah, and you guys talked about this in prior podcasts, but it's like if not for nothing, have you ever just thought about just being yourself?
Yes.
What is that? Like what is that? Just be yourself. What is, and just don't worry about what anybody else says about you. You have to get to a point where you just don't care about anybody. And Goggins talks about this all the time. David Goggins.
Yeah.
If
and
you don't know anybody,
the social environment that we've created today has purported that.
Yeah. If you don't know who David Goggins is, look up. Yeah, just look him up. That's all I got to say.
He's a machine.
He's a machine. Yeah, he's renowned as one of the fittest men on earth, mentally and physically. He always talks about you cannot at all, when you walk through your life, and we might have to cut it actually here because I know we're getting a little late on time.
Yeah, we're getting there. But I have something I want to talk about Goggins too.
That's totally fine. So there's a speech that I listened to from him that he always talks about not giving a crap about what anybody thinks about you. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard concept to understand, especially in our society. But do you know what anybody means? Anybody means anybody. That means your wife. Yeah. It means your parents. It means your siblings. And a lot of people are like, oh, but how my parents see me is so important. It's like, dude, hear me out. you're living your life. If you are so concerned about what your parents think about you when you're 30 years old, then there's something wrong. You need to go live your life. I dealt with this with my ex. I've dealt with this with friends. I've dealt with this with so many people. Oh, my mom's opinion means so much to me. Did you ever think that maybe your mom's opinion is skewed?
It's wrong.
Yeah. Did you ever think that maybe, just maybe, think about it for 1 second, that maybe they're wrong?
Right.
Maybe they're not your type of right.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
It's so down the line, but and
Yeah.
at the same time, you have to balance. You don't have to balance.
You do whatever you want.
I don't know the proper words for.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I don't know the proper words for it, but
Yep.
when you look at people like David Goggins, dude's a machine, and people look at him and go, "He's so disrespectful to people that love him." No, wait. Maybe he's not. Because if he is, going back to this, if he's honest to himself, and if he's honest to the people around him, then he's not being disrespectful, because those people, if they are listening and if they are honest with themselves,
Yep.
they know what to expect from David Goggins.
Right.
There is a point in time, and I'll go ahead and drop it on this right here, kind of like you did last time.
Go for it.
Dropping the future things.
Yeah.
Looking at doing a intimate curiosity. There was, which is kind of like a, side cart to this.
Sure.
There was a time where I told my wife that when I had gone through my changes, it was, you may not like me anymore. You may not like this version of Fred, but this version of Fred is who I am.
Right.
You may not like that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Sure.
But this is who I am. This is who this is honestly me, and I will be honestly me to you.
Right.
And I had never done that before.
Well,
so that's
when you change yourself around people. And don't get me wrong, like there is a time and place where you have to turn on a different switch. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong.
yeah, but it's like business meetings and
That's what I'm saying. But
different
listen,
things like that.
I'm
But
not going to go
personal relationships.
But
though,
I'm not
is what
going to go up to
talking
my
about.
I'm not going to go up to my grandmother and say the things that I say to you. I mean, I would be, but that's just me. I'm just saying, like
right,
the
but that's-
common
it's
person.
When
the
somebody
common
asked
person.
you,
Yes,
people
right,
ask me,
right,
now,
right,
like, well, what's your opinion?
right.
Whoa.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yes.
Do you want to know my opinion? Because
Yes.
I'll tell you.
So I've gotten very good at that, and you know what? You know who actually instilled that into me, of all people, which is, and I talk about my ex a lot, and that's okay. I'm comfortable talking about it. It was actually her grandfather who has passed. He rarely said a word. Only when you asked, "Hey, what's your opinion?" He goes, "Are you sure?" That's literally what he would say.
I literally told that to me. Yes,
dude, he
Yes.
was such a great guy. I loved her grandmother or her grandfather, and her grandmother was really kind of the same way. She kind of was like, "Are you asking my opinion?" Or because
I'll give it to you.
because the moment you open that door, and I've gotten very good about that. I've been quiet. I'm a very vocal person, but like I've gotten much more quiet until somebody says, "What do you think about this?" And then, but here's the thing, though, Fred. I will come back and I'll say, "Are you asking my opinion?" I want to confirm it,
Yeah.
because then that leaves you an out, because you're like,
You asked.
you asked.
You
Yeah.
asked.
They're like, well, should I go take this job? I'm like, no, that job sucks for you. You're terrible. You're not qualified.
Yep.
You're not going to have enough time for your family. And they're going to be like, oh my God, that was going to be a big move in my life.
Yeah.
Well, that was
I'm
the
not
truth.
here to make you feel better.
I'm here to
because
tell you the truth.
asked for my opinion.
Correct.
Right there.
Right,
and that's
right.
I love that, because it's been like
Yeah.
so many times, not so many times, but there's times where it's like, what do you think? Whoa,
Well, yeah.
that's a question. Do you really want to know what I think?
Yep.
Because I'll tell you.
Yeah. And that comes back to loving yourself.
Because you have to be honest with yourself before
yeah.
you can be honest with somebody else.
And I think we'll probably cap it here. Man.
Yeah.
this is what I tell so for those who are listening and maybe they caught on to it earlier, you know, I coach 2 teams, teenagers,
Right.
Rittman High School, Rittman School is really, I'm the head of strength and conditioning there. And they need it. They need it really hard.
Sounds like you've done well for them so far.
Thank you. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from parents and students
awesome.
and teachers. Thank you. The Worcester Oilers hockey team, parents, you know, have come to me and have messaged me. But here's what I tell them, you know, and it comes back to that whole adage of what we were just talking about. You know, one, I'm not going to change for you. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And you have to be so comfortable with loving yourself. And they're like, oh, this is not a sports talk. I'm like, but listen to me right now. I'm like, I'm here voluntarily. I'm coaching you guys voluntarily. I am so comfortable with loving myself. I love myself so much that I know who the person that I am. If you know that if you go into every single game on the ice or on the football field, knowing that that's going to be the last time you're going to lace up those straps for your shoes or your ice skates, then there you go, man. That's winning right there.
It is.
If you just put in 120% every single time.
And it's so
Yeah.
hard for kids that age to be able to
16
do
to
that.
19 years old, you know, they don't really
Yeah.
quite grasp it.
It's hard, but if you can instill it in them, because I
That's
remember
what I'm telling them. Yeah, and it's so
playing
many.
football at that
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
walking off the field, and it's so weird you say that, because I remember walking off the field, in the very back of my mind going, did I give everything I could?
No, and the answer is no, because
It's
here's the
always
thing.
no.
It's
'Cause
always
you don't
no.
know what you're worth. You don't know what's all there.
Yeah, and until you really feel, and I don't know what it is or when it happens or whatever, but you'll feel it. You'll know.
Yeah.
And I try to
You have to
instill
search
that.
for it.
Yeah, I instill that in the kids. You know, I tell them, I say, listen, I love myself so much. I'm like, y'all can laugh. You guys are immature.
Yeah.
You're not at a maturity level to understand this yet. And I don't degrade them.
No,
but
yeah,
but I'm telling them in such a way that I say, hey, listen, I'm not required to be here. But I appreciate and love myself so much that if you talk shit about me in the locker room, or if you go on the field and you're like, Coach Naughton, ugh, whatever, I hate him. Dude, I'm so comfortable
What
with
a
that.
weirdo.
Yeah, I am so comfortable with who I am. I literally do not care
You know what?
about what you think about me.
I think it really comes back to that point alone, comes back to the first time we talked about when you were almost embarrassed talking about the DVD that you had burned for your parents before you left for boot camp. And it was like, this is so embarrassing. This is so whatever. Just like those kids, at some point in their life, they are going to see the genuine feeling and care and desire behind that. It's not going to be all of them. Guarantee it's not going to be all of them.
Right.
But there's going to be a few of them that look back on you talking about those things and you having those speeches, just like you putting that DVD on your parents' pillow
Very strategic.
strategically. You know what I mean?
Stealthily.
And they'll go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fun because I've had the same thing. It's very, very nuanced, but I had the same person in my life as I was a high school player, and he did things he didn't have to do, and did things well above and beyond any other coach or anything that had to do. And I still look back and go, that dude
got it.
that dude got, and that he may have thought that I didn't, but that dude got it.
Yeah.
And he helped me out.
Yeah. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Steve Naughton.
All right. Well, thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much, man.
No, it's my pleasure, and I want to make something abundantly clear to the listeners too. this is so outside my comfort zone. Like, you're lucky that we have like Terramana, Lagunitas,
you and me both,
and like some Yingling in front of us, because like clearly we need a.
I mean, we can start and stop and get real weird if you want to. I got. We'll go way out of that comfort zone.
Shots. No, but yeah, clearly we need an episode 3 because
5, 6,
6, 7, whatever. You know what? I'm honored that somebody wants to hear the story, and it is even more humbling that people want to listen, because this is kind of the path that I'm not even kind of. I retract that. This is the path that I'm on, right. Because I want people to know that even at the ripe age of 28, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen in your young life, whether you're my age or whether you're 50 years old. You know what I mean?
You can change anytime you want.
You can change absolutely anytime you want, and that is just so fulfilling to me.
It is.
So
man.
I want people to continue to listen to the podcast. I want people to continue to follow you, follow my story, follow Ant,
Absolutely.
follow people who inspire you, and make your own story. You are the author of your own story. That's why the word authentic is there, because you're authoring your that's the prefix right there. You're authoring yourself. You're authentic to yourself. You know, write your own story, be yourself, be true to who you are. There's no better way to live than that. Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about what other people are saying or thinking about. You just do that, man, and you're just gonna live so happily, and it's great.
Amen.
Amen. All right, dude.
I'm not even gonna say anything else. Amen.
All right, part 3.
Thank you.